Chapter 585. Hanyu looked at the direction of the stairs. At the corner, a piece of cloth was looming. Jingji picked up a few things from the ground with a cold face. A good-looking person would look good even if he was picking up trash. Shisheng pulled out a box from the side and gave it to him. Jingji smiled slightly and put the things in the box. The others didn't say a word. Jingji was very angry at this time. Others may not see it, but those who followed Jingji knew it. After Jingji put away all the things, he held the box with one hand and Shisheng with the other hand, and went out. Jingji! Someone ran down the stairs with a hoarse voice. Jingji didn't stop and continued to walk out. Mu Xian wanted to chase after him, but was stopped by the guards at the door. Jingji! Mu Xian screamed heartbreakingly. Why couldn't he see her? She liked him so much, but why did he only see Jingxi? Why? They were brother and sister. Hanyu shook his head slightly. He used to admire this girl. Bold and careful. But after what happened in Yaoguang Base, he didn't have any good feelings for Mu Xian. Zhao Weiwei was very important to him. Although he didn't agree with those people, he had people he wanted to protect. He couldn't give up his family and children for her. Shisheng and the others didn't stay in the capital base, and chose to leave directly. The zombie emperor didn't attack the capital base either. At first, those people were quite worried and vigilant. But after a long time, the zombie emperor didn't appear again. 2 years later, the capital base developed the antidote and the apocalypse crisis was resolved. As long as the organs were intact, zombies could recover their human form. If the organs were not intact, there was no way to recover their human form. Although the apocalypse was over, the distorted humanity didn't disappear. The world was still in ruins. It was said that Mu Xian had been imprisoned. Later, a mad scientist wanted to study Mu Xian, and secretly conducted various experiments on her. When Mu Xian was rescued, she was already unconscious. No one could understand what she was mumbling, but she was still useful. Mu Xian was stimulated once and ran away. On the way, she was accidentally killed. In the base. This was the first spring festival after the apocalypse. Everyone seemed to be very happy. Shisheng and Jingji walked hand in hand on the street. The sound of laughter drifted from afar. At this time, everyone went to the square to watch the New Year's gala, so the streets were empty. Sisi. Shisheng tilted her head, and a firework bloomed in her eyes like ripples. Jingji's heart tightened slightly. After a while he leaned over and kissed her forehead. Happy New Year. She was by his side, and that was enough. Happy New Year. Shisheng murmured softly. The entire alley was silent. Something seemed to be stirring in the darkness. Shisheng's gaze fell on the darkness of the street. Auntie. A chubby child suddenly appeared from the corner, and ran towards the Shisheng. Auntie. Xiaoran, slow down. Yian chased after Yi Ran, afraid that she would fall. Yi Ran had already run to the Shisheng's side. She opened her hands and pouted. Auntie, I want a hug. You're too fat. Shisheng looked disgusted and glanced in the direction where Yi Ran came from. Yi Ran pouted her mouth and pretended to cry. Shisheng picked her up with a headache. Yi Ran immediately hugged Shisheng's neck and bit Shisheng's face. Shisheng's face was smeared with saliva. I'll throw you down if you continue like this. Shisheng wiped his face with a dark face. It was full of saliva. Yi Ran pouted. Auntie doesn't like Ran anymore. I didn't like you in the first place. Shisheng glared. He hated naughty children the most. Then why did you hug Ran? Yi Ran asked seriously. Brother said that you only hugged Ran because you like Ran. Auntie, you lied. Shisheng said with an honest face. Because you wanted to cry. Yi Ran blinked her big, watery eyes. Her face was filled with confusion. Then, without knowing how her brain worked, tears started to fall from her eyes. As soon as her tears fell, Shisheng felt that he was not hugging a child, but a mountain. He wanted to throw her away immediately. How many times have I taught you the formula? Why can't you control your spiritual power? Shisheng roared. I just can't remember it. Yi Ran felt wronged. The formula is so long and I'm still so young. Shisheng was speechless. If you were in another world, you would have been beaten to death. Auntie, don't be angry. You can teach Ran Ran again. Ran Ran will learn seriously. Yi Ran hugged Shisheng's neck with tears in her eyes and said flatteringly. Jingji was alarmed. He picked Yi Ran up and threw her into Yi Yan's arms. Then he pulled Shisheng away. Yi Ran always liked to use the formula to pester Shisheng. He suspected that she knew it at all. Yi Ran hugged Yi Yan's neck and hung her small body on him. Her face was no longer full of grievances. She scolded Yi Yan like a little old man. Brother, why are you so stupid? Auntie was taken away again. Yi Yan was speechless. What does it have to do with me? Stupid brother. Okay. Brother is stupid. Let's go to the square. They have started to set off fireworks. Didn't you want to play before? Yi Ran's eyes lit up. She nodded obediently. Okay, let's go. Shisheng and Jingji spent the rest of their lives guarding this base that was like a paradise. Shisheng stayed in this world for a long time. She only returned to the system space after Jingji left. The system space was as quiet as ever, but it was a little different from before. Shisheng walked to the screen. The system immediately refreshed his information. Name, Shisheng moral points. 255000 health points, 25 points, 30,000 3,000 points deducted from the repair of the previous world. 3,000 points rewarded from the mission. No change in points. Mission level, a mission score. 86 hidden mission. Completed hidden mission reward. 2,000 points item column. Queen's crown, Ghost King's heart. Dark Knight this time. Only 5,000 points were deducted from her moral points. It was amazing. Shisheng's fingers swiped on the screen for a long time. The system was not free to speak now, so he did not dare to speak casually. Shisheng swiped for a long time and suddenly sat down. Host, you don't want to continue the mission? Rest. You still need to rest? I thought you were a robot. You don't know what rest is. Shisheng sat cross-legged, holding his chin. His eyes were drifting. No one knew what he was thinking. The system did not know how long it had been. Only then did it hear Shisheng's voice. Enter the next world. Transmission begins. Asterisk small theater system. Why am I so aggrieved? System A. Because you are stupid. System B. Because you are stupid. System, you guys go. System owner. You are really stupid. System. I want to run away from home. Just like that. Chapter 586. My name is Yi Ran and my brother is Yi Yan. Since I was very young, I knew that I was abandoned by my parents. Well, the person who told me was my aunt. Some people say that my aunt is cold-blooded for telling me such a cruel thing, but I don't think so. My aunt is the kind of person who speaks her mind. She won't lie to you just because she sympathizes with you. My brother said that I should call her sister, but I always call her aunt. I don't understand why my brother wants me to call her sister. I didn't change it, and they didn't let me change it. My aunt has a bad temper. When I was young, she threw me away and left me alone in the wilderness. It was Brother Zhufeng who found me later. But I still like my aunt very much. I don't know why, but I feel that her breath is very comfortable, and I want to be close to her. But every time I get close to my aunt, Jingji will come out and snatch her away from me. Jingji is my aunt's brother. Well, he is also her boyfriend. But I don't like him. Without him, my aunt will only love me. Wherever he is, my aunt will dislike me. She will give him all the good things and spoil him to the heavens. At that time, I didn't understand why other people are the ones who spoil the girls. But when it comes to my aunt, she is the one who spoils Jingji. Well, Jingji also spoils my aunt. But compared to my aunt's overbearing behavior, Jingji is more like a silent drizzle. He always knows when my aunt will lose her temper, and appeases her in advance. He knows what she wants to do with her every move and look. It wasn't until I grew up that I understood that this kind of relationship is called telepathy. But at that time, I didn't understand. I always caused trouble for my aunt and Jingji. I followed them wherever they went. Those days lasted for a long time. There are two things that I remember deeply. The first was when I was 14. A 14-year-old girl is always rebellious. I told my aunt that I might like my brother because my brother is very good to me, so I am very dependent on him. After hearing the story between my aunt and Jingji, I don't know what I was thinking at that time, but I felt that I liked my brother. My aunt didn't have any reaction after hearing it, but my brother did. He accidentally heard my conversation with my aunt. Later, I suspected that my aunt knew my brother was there, but she didn't stop me. Ever since my brother heard what I said, he quickly found a girlfriend. She was a very beautiful girl. She spoke gently. I had seen her a few times before, but I didn't pay much attention to her. Now that I saw her with my brother, I was very sad. Then my aunt caught me playing a trick on the girl. She carried me up the mountain like a little chick. When the cold wind blew, I became much more awake. "Auntie." I stood behind her and called her pitifully. "Do you know what liking is?" she asked me. "If I like you, then I like you." I remember that was my answer at the time. Then I saw her smile. It was a faint smile, but it was unforgettable. It was deeply engraved in my mind. I heard her mutter softly, "Yeah, like is like." "Aunt." She lowered her head to look at me, and I could see my reflection in her calm eyes. She said, "If you dare to sleep with your brother tonight, then you like your brother. But if you don't dare, then don't treat kinship as love." I think my expression at that time was something like this. "Oh, what is Auntie talking about? She actually instigated me to sleep with my brother?" My brother would beat me to death if he knew. But at night I still sneaked over. When I reached the door, I didn't dare to do it. I kept rehearsing in my head. I couldn't accept my brother and me. Look, she always solved problems so simply and crudely. She didn't know what being tactful was, but I still liked her. Then, I went to apologize to my brother. I said that I was just joking with Auntie. I liked him, but not that kind of like. My brother heaved a sigh of relief after hearing that. But he was still with that girl. They had known each other for a while. My sudden words gave my brother the opportunity to confess. The second thing happened when I was 17 years old. During that time, Auntie actually spent a lot of time with me. But most of the time, she was urging me to cultivate. She said that if I didn't work hard, I would be the one to die. I was different from others. I could cultivate. Brother Xiaoshu said that in this world, those who could cultivate were the lucky ones blessed by the heavens. Auntie exposed Brother Xiaoshu on the spot. She said that Brother Xiaoshu was talking nonsense. She was the one who fed me the xianling fruit, so that I could cultivate. I didn't know what the xianling fruit was, but every once in a while, Auntie would give me a kind of fruit. That kind of fruit didn't look good. It was also very sour and didn't taste good. The good thing was that every time I ate it, I would feel the spiritual power in my body become more abundant. I actually didn't want to cultivate. But in order to make Auntie happy, and to monopolize Auntie with Jingji, I still cultivated very seriously. I always knew that Auntie was very capable. But on the day of my tribulation, I realized that Auntie's ability was much greater than I imagined. That was probably the day I remembered most clearly in my life. There were still 3 days before my 18th birthday. But that evening, when I was meditating, the spiritual power in my body suddenly went out of control. Before I could figure out what was going on, I heard the rumbling of thunder. The thunder seemed to be right next to my ears. It was very clear. I didn't feel like I was sitting in a safe house. Instead, I felt like I was sitting under countless flashes of lightning. Later, I heard people say that the scene at that time was indeed like that. The place I was in was filled with dense lightning, flashing like snakes in the sky. When the lightning struck, I heard Auntie's voice. It was as simple and indifferent as ever. "If you can't endure it, you'll die." It wasn't the first time she said this to me. Before, I couldn't understand the power of this sentence. But now I understood. If I couldn't endure it, I would really die. But I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. I didn't even know what kind of willpower I relied on in the end to succeed in forming my gold core. But Auntie told me that forming my gold core had just begun. What I would experience later would be thousands of times more dangerous than now. If I wasn't prepared, it would stop here and there would be no need to go forward. "Auntie, do you cultivate?" I asked her. I had never seen Auntie cultivate, but I felt that she was very powerful. Auntie held Jingji's hand. The smile on her face was very faint, and ripples gradually appeared in her eyes. The lifespan of a cultivator is very long. I don't want to live that long. I just want to live until his life ends. Somehow, this sentence seemed to be branded in the depths of my mind. Many years later, I've heard countless words of love and had intimate lovers, but I still feel that Auntie's words were the most affectionate. I just want to live until his life ends. Yi Ran. Chapter 587. Xiaoshu was born in a scholarly family. It was said that his ancestors were immortal cultivators, and some of them had successfully ascended. His father was a soldier and did not believe in these things. Later, he died on the battlefield. Therefore, his grandfather designated him as the successor of the family's culture. For as long as he could remember, he had been reading books that he could not understand at all. His grandfather could not fully understand the things in the books, so it was even more difficult for him to pass it on. In the end, he only learned some written theories. Later, when the apocalypse came, his grandfather was killed by his zombified mother. He stepped into the dangerous and unknown apocalypse alone. He was afraid at the beginning, but he gradually accepted it. He was calm and could easily chop off the heads of zombies. Later, he met Jingji and Zhufeng. At that time, the two of them were chased by a group of zombies. They were only 2 people, but they easily got rid of those zombies. The strong are always respected, so Xiaoshu chose to join them. At first, he thought Zhufeng was a very steady person. After all, he looked like the kind of person who gave people a sense of security. However, after getting along with them, he realized that Zhufeng was a retard. But he did not know why he felt that he was a little silly and cute. Every time he saw him suffer, his mood would be better. Xiaoshu did not know that he had a problem with his sexual orientation at first. He found out about his sexual orientation when he was in high school. At that time, high school was the kind of dormitory. The boy lived under his bunk and had a good relationship with him. One night, it was raining heavily. His bunk was facing the window, but the window was broken and could not be closed at all. The rain and cold wind kept pouring in, so he could not sleep at all. He asked the dormitory manager to fix it, but the dormitory manager said it was too late. He asked him to squeeze with other people and get someone to fix it tomorrow. Naturally, he chose the boy who had a good relationship with him. The single bed was not wide. When the 2 boys squeezed together, there was almost no room for them to turn over. It was inevitable that their bodies would touch. Xiaoshu felt that someone was touching him in a daze. He did not know if it was because he was exposed to the cold wind on the upper bunk. His head was groggy and his eyelids were so heavy that he could not open them at all. But he heard someone panting in his ear, and the warm breath hit his cheek. Someone was touching his body, along his chest and all the way down. Xiaoshu could not remember what happened after that. When he woke up the next day, other than feeling a little weak, there was nothing wrong with him. He suspected that he was muddle-headed from his illness and did not dare to tell the boy. But since that day, the boy treated him better. The 2 of them became closer and closer. They would go out to play and study together. In the eyes of others, they were close friends. But in the next semester, the boy transferred to another school, for reasons unknown to him, and he finally received a belated confession letter from the boy from a distant city. It was also at that time that he suddenly realized that his sexual orientation might be a little different. At that time, he was also confused. He looked up some information about this on the internet. At that time, the acceptance of homosexuality in the country was very low. Generally, this kind of situation would be considered to be sick. Sometimes he would think of that boy, and the vague impression in his heart would gradually become clearer. Later on, he tried to contact that boy, but the letters he sent out were like stones thrown into the sea. There was no response. That was probably his first love that had died without a cause. He finished high school in a daze and entered university. There were fewer girls in the university he studied in, so there were more homosexuals there. At that time, people's views on homosexuality were slowly changing. There were also people who pursued him, but he had no feelings for those people and rejected them all. He remembered that when he was in university, there were people who said that he was an abstinent Prince Charming. Later on, when he met Jingji, he realized that he was nothing in front of Jingji. At first, he didn't like Zhufeng very much. After all, he was too stupid. But later on, he realized that stupidity also had its benefits. At least in the apocalypse he could still live happily. When he was with Zhu Feng, he always felt that he was not in the apocalypse. Especially when Jingxi returned to the team. This idiot pulled him every day and talked about how Jingxi was, and whether Jingxi would be deceived. Xiaxu wanted to slap him to death at that time. Jingxi was such a smart person. How could he be deceived? Only a retard like him would be deceived. When they were in Ping County, Jingxi and Jingxi woke him up to keep watch. Xiaxu saw Zhu Feng rolling to the side of the garbage heap and wanted to move him away. Who knew that this idiot would suddenly wake up? Xiaxu had to stand up and was ready to leave as if nothing had happened. Zhu Feng also stood up with him. He didn't know what he stepped on, but his body suddenly pounced on him. His teeth knocked against Xiaxu's lips, and he immediately tasted blood. The romantic kiss that he saw on TV was complete nonsense. Zhu Feng stared at him with his lips still attached to him. His brain was probably in a daze as he stuck out his tongue and licked him. Xiaxu felt that if he didn't do it, he would be a beast. So he kissed Zhu Feng forcefully. After that, he even injured his mouth to make Zhu Feng successfully forget that he kissed him forcefully and feel guilty. Later on, Zhu Feng said that he was scheming. He smiled and told him, "If I wasn't scheming, would you be with me obediently now?" Since that time, Zhu Feng became more and more awkward. He looked at Xiaxu with a complicated gaze. When they were in Yaoguang base, Xiaxu could only share a room with Zhu Feng because of the room problem. What's more, there was only one bed in the room. At that time, the weather was very hot. After he entered the room, he didn't wear any clothes and only wore a pair of underpants. That idiot opened the door and came in. Seeing that he was only wearing underpants, he actually left. At night, he dawdled for a long time before coming in. "Well, you sleep on the bed. I'll sleep on the floor. Haha, it's cool." Xiaxu lay on the bed and didn't say anything, waiting for that idiot to climb up himself. At that time, the floor was even hotter than the bed. It would be strange if he could sleep. Sure enough, after a few minutes, Zhu Feng climbed up from the floor. He was probably checking if he was asleep. After a while, he felt that the other side was heavier. He didn't plan to do anything to him. After all, other than being a little ambiguous, they hadn't made their relationship clear. However, Zhu Feng didn't sleep well. His hands and feet were moving all over the place. He was already hot. After being teased by Zhu Feng, he felt even hotter. Xiaxu tried to endure it, but Zhu Feng was really noisy. So he couldn't bear it anymore. Zhu Feng was still in a daze after being woken up by him. When Xiaxu was about to enter, Zhu Feng finally reacted. He suddenly yelled, "I treat you as a brother, but you want to sleep with me. I've wanted to sleep with you for a long time." Xiaxu pressed his hand and whispered in his ear to distract him. Zhu Feng was in great pain. He could only slow down. Amidst Zhu Feng's scolding, he completely invaded his body and invaded his mind and body. Zhu Feng accepted Xiaxu faster than he thought. He thought that he would have to sleep with him a few more times. In the end, he automatically accepted his fate the next day. "I'm doing everything I can to get you, Xiaxu." Chapter 588. Everyone knew that the bankrupt CEO Lu Xingge was sick. Asterisk. Evil bitch, catch her, don't let her run away. Refund. Refund, evil bitch, give us back our hard-earned money. Sheng was pushed and pulled by people. She was in so much pain that she came back to her senses. There were many people in front of her, all of them angrily pulling at her. Some of them were pinching and squeezing her arms. Some of them were pinching her waist and chest. Not only were they pinching her, they were even twisting her waist. It was so painful that she almost cried out. F***ck. This scene was really too much. "Where's I's sword?" Before Sheng could take out his sword, a group of people came from the side, separated the troublemakers, and carried Sheng to the building next door. These people carried Sheng into the elevator, then into an office, leaving only a girl behind. The girl looked at Sheng worriedly. "CEO Lu, are you okay? Do you need me to call a doctor?" Sheng calmly waved her hand. "You go out first." "CEO Lu." Sheng looked at her coldly, and the girl immediately lowered her head. "Yes." Sheng saw that there was a restroom nearby. She propped herself up, locked the door, and sat down. She took 2 deep breaths and took out her tablet. Receive plot. Prepare to teleport. No, I don't want to teleport, really. This was a male urban stallion novel. Yifeng, a poor college student. Because of his good looks, he got a girlfriend who was the campus belle. However, this girlfriend was very materialistic. After knowing that Yifeng was poor, she immediately dumped him. Yifeng went to the river to drink when he was heartbroken, but he accidentally fell into the river. After he was rescued, he woke up and found that there was an app called Rich Man's Self-Cultivation on his phone. Yifeng found that the mission given by the app was to make him spend money, and the virtual currency in the app could be exchanged with his real currency. He needed to complete the missions given by the app, then earn points to level up. All he needed to do was to keep spending money. Since then, Yifeng started his life as a loser. Rich second generation? Carry my shoes. Rich second generation? It's my little brother. Beautiful CEOs, A-list celebrities, innocent junior sisters, enchanting assassins, and neighborhood girls all fell into his arms. In the end, Yifeng had a harem and a harem, which was more awesome than ***********. A proper stallion novel. If they didn't agree, they would have sex. The original owner, Lu Xinggu, was the only daughter of the Lu family. Her parents died early and she was 24 years old. She was groomed to be the CEO since she was young. She inherited the family business at the age of 20. In 4 years, her net worth rose from 0 to 9 digits. Lu Xinggu was naturally that beautiful CEO. However, this girl wanted to find someone who treated her wholeheartedly. Yifeng did treat her wholeheartedly in the beginning, but as he met more and more women, Yifeng couldn't help but become unfaithful. He was having an affair with a woman without telling Lu Xinggu, and was caught by Lu Xinggu. Yifeng's woman actually persuaded Lu Xinggu. They said that Yifeng was such a good man that they didn't mind sharing him. They were even willing to let Lu Xinggu grow up. Lu Xinggu was a man of his word. He was a man of his word. When he encountered such a situation, he immediately gave the girl who came looking for him a slap. That girl couldn't help but complain to Yifeng. At that time, Yifeng and the girl were having an intimate time. After being provoked by the girl, Yifeng went to reason with Lu Xinggu. The two of them had a big fight. Yifeng expressed that he was very disappointed with Lu Xinggu. Yifeng felt that other women could accept it, but Lu Xinggu couldn't. After being provoked by the women around Yifeng's interest in Lu Xinggu stopped at her body. Lu Xinggu didn't give it to Yifeng. Yifeng couldn't forget about it. At this time, the software gave him a mission to acquire the Lu family business. How could Yifeng refuse to kill 2 birds with 1 stone? He bought the shares of the Lu family business and became a shareholder. He nibbled away the company's shares step by step and became the biggest shareholder of the Lu family business. He turned Lu Xingji's efforts into bubbles with 1 sentence. Yifeng pushed the Lu family business to the brink of bankruptcy. He wanted to tell Lu Xinggu, "You see, I can easily bankrupt your company, and you don't even like someone as powerful as me." Lu Xinggu could only blame herself for being blind. She was preparing to make a comeback when she went abroad, but she was kidnapped. The person who kidnapped her was none other than one of Yifeng's women, the girl next door, Dongwan. This woman was crazy. She liked Yifeng and felt that it was a sin for others not to like Yifeng. Therefore, Lu Xinggu not liking Yifeng was an unforgivable sin in Dongwan's eyes. She tortured Lu Xinggu to death. After doing this, Dongwan cruelly made all kinds of scars on her body. She said that Lu Xinggu was crazy and wanted to kill her. She had no choice but to kill her. After Yifeng knew about this, he didn't call the police. Instead, he helped Dongwan dispose of the body. Lu Xinggu had no parents and no siblings. Her company went bankrupt. Even if she died, people would only think that she couldn't take the blow and committed suicide. Lu Xinggu hated it. Her last wish was simple. It could be summed up in 1 word: revenge. This plot. There were too many things to complain about. He didn't want to complain at all. There was a mirror in the lounge. Shisheng stood up and walked in front of the mirror. The woman in the mirror was blushing. Her facial features were delicate, with a bit of the fierceness of a strong woman. She was the type of mature sister. Shisheng touched her body up and down, especially her chest. She touched it twice. This was definitely the best body proportion she had experienced in so many worlds. With this body, it was no wonder that the male lead couldn't forget about it. However, it hurt. Those idiots pinched and pinched just now. F***ck, they didn't pay. The current timeline was very bad. Yifeng had already bought over the Liu family company and was causing the company to collapse. The Liu family company's newly developed building had an earthquake in the neighboring city a week ago. The aftershocks had also caused these two buildings to collapse. The people who came to cause trouble were all homeowners who had bought a house. Other people's houses didn't collapse, but yours did. Wasn't this a problem? There was indeed a problem with this house. The people below had cut corners. The money that was allocated was only taken by you. The quality of the house was not up to standard at all. After the incident, the relevant people ran away with the money. The ones who were caught were just a few small fries. Now the homeowner was asking for a refund. As the company's public CEO, Liu Xingge was naturally the first to be attacked. Moreover, her looks had attracted a wave of hatred from housewives. * Little fairy. You guys asked for the male lead novel. Cherub. This plot. Are you sure the author of this plot is normal? Little fairy. I'm the author. Do you think I'm normal? Cherub. This is revenge. Little fairy. Since you guys don't like me, then all of you can die with me. Shisheng. Isn't this my patent? Little fairy. Do you care if others like you or not? Shisheng. I don't care. But I can die with you. Cherub. Can I request to change the female lead? Shisheng. What are you guys talking about? Cherub. Nothing. Let's vote. Chapter 589. Shisheng stayed in the restroom for a while. He took out the original owner's clothes and changed into a new one before opening the door and going out. Fortunately, these people did not pinch her face, or she would fight them to the death. Shisheng exhaled and sat back on the CEO's chair. This incident had nothing to do with Yifeng, but Yifeng must have fanned the flames. So the best way to solve this problem now was to find the culprit. She was not worried about the money. She could earn it back in minutes. Yifeng's mission seemed to be to buy all of the Liu Corporation. Before the acquisition was completed, the Liu Corporation could not go bankrupt. Shisheng narrowed his eyes. The host must be up to no good. Shisheng called in the girl from before. The girl was called Han Xiao. She was the original owner's subordinate, so she could be trusted. President Liu? Han Xiao's voice was full of worry. What happened just now? Was President Liu okay? Check the company's accounts for this period of time. Shisheng typed on the keyboard and ordered. Don't let anyone else know. Han Xiao was stunned, but she did not ask any questions out of habit. As the CEO's secretary, Han Xiao had a lot of authority, but it was not easy to check the company's accounts quietly. After work, Shisheng went downstairs with his hands on his waist. The employees he met on the way all had strange expressions on their faces. Shisheng went to the basement to get his car, but he saw a boy in front of his car. He was dressed casually and looked handsome. His peach blossom eyes were full of affection, as if everyone was his lover. Yifeng. The male lead appeared. He leaned against the car next to her, obviously waiting for her. Yifeng saw her coming and immediately stood up straight. He made a pose that he thought was dashing. Shengge. Shisheng walked over calmly. No. Yifeng was stunned. Liu Xingge, who only knew how to work all day, actually knew how to use internet slang. Shisheng opened the door. When the door was about to close, a hand suddenly grabbed the door. Shisheng increased his strength, and the door closed in her direction. Yifeng let go of his hand in surprise. He slammed the car door angrily. Xingge, Liu Xingge, let's talk. Shisheng rolled down the car window a little and pulled a strange smile. Mr. Yi, do you want to talk to me about the positions you like to use in bed with others? The moment he opened his mouth, he started to talk dirty, shocking Yifeng to his spot. The Shisheng suddenly started the engine. The car had no intention of avoiding Yifeng, so Yifeng could only back off. The exhaust gas spewed out from the parking lot covered Yifeng's face. He was confused. Had Liu Xingge gone mad from anger? Buzz buzz. The phone in his pocket suddenly vibrated. Yifeng took out the phone and looked at the name. His face immediately showed a touch of tenderness. Qing Qing. Yifeng, I sprained my ankle. Is it convenient for you to come and pick me up? The female voice on the other end of the phone was sweet, with a bit of grievance and coquettishness. Yifeng immediately became restless and agreed without thinking. When Shisheng got home, he immediately turned off all the communication devices. Now the media and reporters were like flies that had seen the cracks in an egg. Now that the relevant departments had intervened, she didn't do a shoddy project, and the house hadn't been handed over yet. No one had died, so it wasn't difficult to deal with it. Things that could be solved with money and violence were not difficult for Shisheng. However, in this world, these two things were always successful. Shisheng first treated the injuries on her body. Looking at her perfect body covered with bruises in the mirror, she couldn't help but feel depressed. Couldn't those people have rushed out a little later? At least let I take revenge first. I will pay if they beat me to a pulp. The news was all about this incident. Shisheng was annoyed, so he turned off the TV and went online. Yifeng had the most shares of the Lu Corporation now. The original owner still had 15% of the shares, so she was a relatively large shareholder. Shisheng supported his chin. What should he do with the shares? Sell it at a discount? Buy one get one free? It was better to make money first. The male lead's virtual currency could be exchanged for real currency. If she didn't make money, how could she show off to the male lead? It took Han Xiao some time to get the accounts. During this time, more and more people gathered outside to cause trouble. Shisheng only asked the public relations department to deal with it. He didn't care about the rest and let them cause trouble. Chairman Lu, what do you want to do with this? Han Xiao nervously handed the documents to Shisheng. Shisheng smiled. You can go and resign. Huh. Han Xiao was surprised. Chairman Lu. I don't want to leave. I believe you can get through this. She had seen Chairman Lu all the way. She knew how hard she worked. How could she leave at this time? I can't leave. I can't leave Chairman Lu at this time. Han Xiao was determined in her heart. I only asked you to resign. I didn't ask you to stop working for me. Han Xiao. How could she work for you if she resigned? Just go and wait for my call. Shisheng waved his hand and shooed Han Xiao out like a fly. Han Xiao went out in confusion. What was wrong with Chairman Lu? Shisheng got the accounts. She found that someone was buying up the Lu Corporation's shares on the stock market. It should be the male lead. Shisheng secretly transferred her shares into the stock market. After confirming that all the shares were bought by the male lead, Shisheng falsified the accounts and reported it anonymously. The falsified accounts she made were synchronized with the company's accounts. Her method was very special. If she hadn't marked it out, the relevant departments wouldn't have noticed it. The Lu Corporation was closed down for tax evasion. Coupled with the collapse of the building, the Lu Corporation's reputation was extremely bad. The finance department of the Lu Corporation was dumbfounded. Some of them had done it before, but the amount was not so large. The method was also completely different from theirs. Most importantly, the company's annual profits were not so high. However, the amount of money was not for nothing. The complete data of each item could be found. It was submitted by the branch company and reviewed by the head office. What was even more strange was that the paper backup was missing. It started from the year before last. The company was reformed. Only the head office had the paper backup. The branch company only had the electronic backup. The company's liquidity was also missing. No one knew where it went. The finance department was in a dog-eat-dog situation. A said B did it, B said C did it, C said C did it, C said A did it. Shisheng, of course, would not lead the fire to herself. After the investigation confirmed that she knew nothing, and there was no evidence to prove that she was involved, she was allowed to go home. Because of the sufficient evidence, the other people's statements were either without evidence or the evidence could not support their claims. The Lu Corporation was fined a hefty sum and declared bankruptcy. These series of events happened so fast that Yifeng didn't even have time to react. His mission failed so inexplicably. Yifeng would also be punished if he failed the mission. This time, Yifeng's points were deducted by 300. It was already difficult to accumulate points. With 3,000 points deducted, his points directly went into the negative. Asterisk the company went bankrupt as soon as she came over. She was easy to mess with. The above is pure nonsense. Blame me for failing to show off. Just pretend you didn't see it. I don't want to hear it. Chapter 590. Shisheng didn't want to start a company, so he only gave Han Xiao a job as a personal assistant. After all, she was useless in life. Han Xiao also didn't have much ambition. Shisheng's salary was higher than her working in the company, so she naturally accepted it. Although she didn't quite understand why Shisheng was still able to spend money so extravagantly when she was already bankrupt. Bankrupt Shisheng. I have plenty of money. The news was all over the place, and the homeowners who bought the house were compensated accordingly, so they didn't continue to cause trouble. Shisheng just sat at home and waited for death to earn money. President Liu, come and see. Han Xiao suddenly called out to Shisheng when she was drying clothes. Shisheng's gaze moved from the laptop screen to Han Xiao, who kept waving at him. Shisheng tilted his head, his pajamas wrinkled, and there was a piece of bread in his mouth, looking a little cute. Shisheng put down the laptop, slowly moved to the balcony, and looked down from the window. Luxury cars, handsome guys, and fresh flowers. It's Yifeng, President Liu. Are you still in contact with Yifeng? Don't blame me for talking too much, but this Yifeng is not a good match for you. He's obviously a playboy. Han Xiao commented. She had seen the ambiguous relationship between Yifeng and that Liang Qing a few times. Previously, when she told CEO Liu about it, CEO Liu did not believe her until she saw it for herself. Now, she could not let CEO Liu be deceived by this gigolo again. Yifeng, who was below, seemed to have seen Shisheng and waved at her. His face looked more like a gigolo under the contrast of the conspicuous roses. He was quite good-looking, but unfortunately, he didn't have the domineering and noble aura of someone who was born in a rich family. If he was born in a rich family, he would be crushed in minutes, but he couldn't resist the cheat. No matter how good his temperament was, he couldn't resist the cheat. He actually wanted to hit on I. How bold! Shisheng turned around and walked back. Han Xiao looked at Shisheng in confusion. When Shisheng came back, he was holding a basin of water in his hand. Looking at the degree of steaming, it was probably the water she boiled for cooking. As soon as this thought flashed through Han Xiao's mind, she saw President Liu pour the basin of water directly. Ah! Yifeng let out a blood-curdling scream. Although the basin of water did not pour all over his body, half of the water poured onto his face and hands, instantly turning them red and swollen. The roses, which had been tender and beautiful just a moment ago, were now steaming. Han Xiao. Was CEO Liu provoked? No, Yifeng wouldn't die after being splashed with such hot water. Would he? Han Xiao quickly grabbed the railing and looked outside. The water was not boiling water, and there was such a high distance between them, the temperature had dropped a lot. Yifeng's body was only a little red and swollen, but he looked fine. Han Xiao heaved a sigh of relief. Yifeng covered his face and glared angrily at the person upstairs. She had nothing now, yet she dared to be so arrogant with him. Lu Xingge, just you wait. He must make this woman toss and turn under his body. Before Yifeng's bold words could be shouted out, a group of men in security uniforms quickly came from the other side and surrounded Yifeng. Sir, a property owner has complained about your harassment. Please leave, the well-trained security guard said. Harassment? She actually told the security guard that he was harassing her. Lu Xingge, you are really something. Yifeng glared at Shisheng, endured the pain, opened the car door and drove away. CEO Liu, are you okay? Han Xiao looked at Shisheng carefully. CEO Liu's domineering manner without saying a word just now was even more awesome than when she was in the company. What can happen to me? Shisheng held his hands and returned to the living room. Han Xiao followed closely. CEO Liu, have you let go of Yifeng? Shisheng sat on the sofa, his whole body seemed to sink into the soft sofa. With a population of more than 1 billion, it is easy to find a man. What can't I let go of? Lu Xingge, who used to like, was dead. And she was no longer Lu Xingge. Han Xiao blinked. CEO Lu's condition was so bad before. Wasn't it because of Yi Feng, this gigolo? Now that she could let go of him, she was the happiest. With CEO Lu's ability, it was not a problem for her to make a comeback. CEO Lu, it's good that you let go. Yi Feng, that gigolo, is not worthy of you. Han Xiao said happily. CEO Lu, I'll go cook first. Shisheng looked up at her, supported his chin with one hand, and watched Han Xiao busy in the kitchen. Shisheng's lips tugged into a smile before she lowered her head, and continued to struggle with the dense pile of data. Shisheng did not expect Yi Feng to bring a lawyer to the door. Yi Feng's injury was wrapped up like a mummy by them. The injury evaluation said that it was serious, as if he was going to die in the next second. Yi Feng, how can you be so shameless? Is your injury that serious? Han Xiao saw those things and immediately exploded. This is extortion. I want to sue you. Miss Han, please don't be agitated. The lawyer's expression was serious. Mr. Ye's injury is on his face, which seriously affects his daily life. It may even disfigure him in the future. These compensation are all based on evidence. Yi Feng sat beside the lawyer leisurely. Shisheng kept looking at the computer, and did not look at him at all. Yi Feng could not help but feel angry. Nonsense. Han Xiao threw the document at the lawyer and said angrily, Do you think I've never studied law? With Yi Feng's injury, they could only pay tens of thousands of dollars at most. But this *T lawyer actually asked them to pay 5 million. Was his brain kicked by a donkey? The lawyer was already prepared. He took out another document. Miss Han, this compensation is not only for Mr. Ye's medical expenses. There's also Mr. Ye's car. That car is a limited edition. Because of Miss Lu's actions, the car now needs to be returned to the factory for repair. The repair cost is huge. 5 million is already the reduced amount that Mr. Yi has given you. Han Xiao quickly flipped through the document and scanned through 10 lines at a glance. Every clause was clearly written, without any loopholes. Han Xiao then looked at Shisheng in a panic. With so much money, where were they going to find the money to pay? A basin of water can make your car return to the factory for repair. Your car is a prop, isn't it? Shisheng raised his head and sneered. A good car is not even afraid of a collision. Why is your car so fragile? Shisheng's words were not polite at all. He almost said that he bought a fake car outside. Miss Lu, here is the repair bill. You can check it. The lawyer spoke before Yi Feng could. Shisheng closed the notebook and looked indifferent. Since you dared to bring it here, it must have been tampered with. Why would I bother to check it? The lawyer's expression did not change. Whether Miss Lu is willing to admit it or not, this evidence is valid. If Miss Lu is not willing to pay, then we can only meet in court. See you in court. Ha ha ha. I'm stuck again. Kevin, who had given up on himself. That's it. Hashtag today's Mangosteen ticket. Hashtag November 26th, 2016 book review area winner Baby Mo Ling Fairy. Chapter 591. Shisheng looked at the lawyer and signaled him to continue. The lawyer cleared his throat and shifted his gaze unnaturally to the side. Miss Lu, I also know about your current situation. But this amount is the result of Mr. Yi bearing part of it himself. If you really have no other way, you can use your house as collateral. What did you say? Han Xiao couldn't help but yell. You're here for Miss Lu's house, right? CEO Lu only had one house left. Yi Feng, this gigolo, actually wanted to make CEO Lu homeless. Shunga, I don't want to be so heartless, but you let me down. Yi Feng's face was wrapped in bandages, and his expression couldn't be seen. You're in the right and left, and you're still in the right. How shameless you are. Medical fees, right? Shisheng grinned and rolled her eyes. She smiled sinisterly. I don't have anything else but money. Shisheng suddenly grabbed Yi Feng and threw him to the ground beside the sofa. Miss Lu. The lawyer was shocked. Do you still want to hit him? You'll be held criminally responsible. Miss Lu. Han Zhao's exclamation overlapped with the lawyer's voice. How could Miss Lu hit him? If something happened to him, we can't afford it. Shisheng stepped on Yi Feng's back and pinned his hands behind his back. Yi Feng's face was pressed against the cold ground, and he was screaming in pain. He didn't expect Shisheng to hit him so suddenly, and he was unprepared. Don't worry, I won't hit the important parts. At most, I'll pay some money. Sheng smiled at the lawyer. Thank you, beautiful CEO, for always exercising. The lawyer was about to step forward, but his body froze. He didn't want to admit that he was frightened by a woman's gaze. But his body didn't listen to him at all, as if it was under a spell. Only Yifeng's screams could be heard in the whole hall. Sheng finished the beating and took Yifeng to the other room. When the lawyer and Han Xiao came in, they only saw the corner of Yifeng's clothes sliding down from the balcony. Splash! There was a loud sound of water below. Sheng leaned against the balcony, still calm. But in his heart, he was thinking that if the male lead drowned, it shouldn't be his fault. That's right, Yifeng didn't know how to swim. Plus, he had fallen into the water before, which made him even more afraid of water. The lawyer seemed to have thought of something and quickly rushed downstairs. Sheng's apartment was not high up, and there was a swimming pool downstairs. At this time, there was no one in the swimming pool. But when the lawyer arrived downstairs, he found that Yifeng had already been rescued. A girl was lying on top of him, giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Yifeng was sent to the hospital. This time he really had to be bandaged like a mummy. President Liu, will something happen? The sound of the ambulance whizzing by below entered Han Zhao's ears, startling her and making her uneasy. You don't have to take responsibility if something happens. What are you afraid of? Sheng patted Han Zhao's shoulder and said, Go and see if there are any better houses. Let's go somewhere else. With Yifeng's vengeful character, he would only do it himself and would not choose to call the police. In order to avoid seeing stallion men every day in the future, it was more important to change houses. CEO Liu, where's the money? You're bankrupt now, okay? It's not something that can be changed at will. We have to economize and then make a comeback. Don't worry about the money. Just go and see. Han Xiao. Even if she was bankrupt, President Liu was still a domineering president. No, she seemed to be even more domineering than before. This was a little different from the bankrupt presidents she knew. Look at other bankrupt presidents. Which one of them was not sloppy, from heaven to hell overnight, living a drunken life, giving up on themselves, and cynical? Her president was good. Not to mention not being able to eat or sleep well because of bankruptcy. She didn't even frown. Of course, there was no mention of making a comeback. It felt like she was sitting and eating every day waiting for death. She didn't expect President Liu to be such a person in private. When Han Xiao took her bag and went out, she realized that she was just asking about Yifeng, that pretty boy. Han Xiao was afraid that Sheng didn't have much money, so when looking for a house, she tried to find an affordable one. In the end, she was rejected by Sheng in a few places. One day, Sheng held a magazine and slapped it in front of Han Xiao. He pointed at the building with special effects on it. It's here. Han Zhao's heart was throbbing with pain. She wanted to cry but had no tears. President Liu, this house costs tens of millions. We can't afford it. Sheng put his hands on the table and leaned slightly towards Han Xiao. The corners of his eyes were slightly raised, and his handsome face was full of dominance. Han Zhao's heartbeat suddenly sped up, and she couldn't help but lean back. Sheng stared at Han Xiao, and his voice seemed to be tinged with a bit of laughter. Do you still remember the liquidity of the Liu Corporation that disappeared? Han Zhao's wildly beating heart suddenly stopped. She had a feeling that what she was going to say next was something that she couldn't bear. Sheng's finger brushed past her ear and landed in front of her. Between his white fingers, there was a pale gold card. We don't lack money. Be good, go buy a house. Han Zhao's cheeks suddenly turned red. It took a while for Han Xiao to react. Her rosy cheeks looked exceptionally cute. President Liu, you transferred all the funds out? Han Xiao felt that her voice was trembling. The Liu Corporation had a lot of liquidity. It was easier said than done to transfer such a huge amount of money out. Those people had been investigating for so long, but they still didn't know where the money went. It was like a supernatural event. Yes. Sheng stood up straight. Han Xiao. President Liu, you're amazing. How did you transfer it out? Sheng asked again. Do you think it's illegal for me to do this? The blush on Han Zhao's face faded. After a long silence, she said slowly, President Liu, since you're willing to tell me such an important thing, I will definitely keep it a secret. Shisheng shrugged. His attitude was very indifferent, and even a little arrogant. Even if you tell others, it's nothing. Who would believe you? Han Xiao had just prepared to express her heartfelt words, but they were choked by Shisheng's words. She didn't even have a testimony from Shisheng himself. If she really told others, no one would believe her. Han Xiao was very curious about how Shisheng did it, but she knew that this wasn't something she could ask. She resigned to her fate and went to buy a house. A house cost more than 13 million yuan. The advertisement for this house was simple and crude. 100 years of scenery, 100 years of residence. Anyway, Han Xiao didn't understand the purpose of this advertisement, except to tell her that this place was called 100 Years Residence. As for other aspects, the environment was indeed very good. There were small bridges, flowing water, houses, withered vines, old trees, and dim crows. Bah! Every small villa seemed to be hidden in the mountains, full of greenery. It was said that the security used the most advanced security system. Han Xiao looked at the endless stretch of land. She didn't understand how many people were needed to see such a big place. She didn't understand the world of the rich. After Han Xiao finished all the procedures, Shisheng moved in and sold the house she used to live in. Chapter 592. Since moving into the Banyan residence, Han Xiao found that the CEO had nothing to do. All he did was eat, drink, and sleep, just like an old man. Han Xiao tried to ask questions several times, trying to find out when Shisheng was going to make a comeback, but before she could ask, the topic was immediately changed. Mr. Liu, I picked up a dog outside. Han Xiao shouted as soon as she entered the door. Shisheng lifted the book on his face and squinted at the door. It was a snow-white Samoyed puppy. Han Xiao led the dog in and seemed very happy. This dog is so cute. I've always wanted to raise one, but I didn't have the time. How dare you pick up a dog here? Shisheng put the book back on his face. If the owner comes to find you, you'll have to pay for it. The people who lived here were all rich and powerful. The dog here must have been raised by them. I asked the security guards, but they didn't know who it was. Han Xiao certainly wouldn't be so reckless. I told the security guards that if the owner wants to find me, they can come here. Han Xiao probably really liked dogs and had a lot of fun playing with the Samoyed. No one came to find her until dinner time. Han Xiao was worried and called the security guards, but they said no one came to ask. Side mission, Angel's Heart. Shisheng. What the hell was Angel's Heart? Oh my god. Wasn't this a male urban novel? Why did it change the channel? Or was it that the male lead had a woman who was actually an angel? That's awesome. The host's imagination ran wild. Angel's Heart, also known as Curse, is a very famous diamond in this world. The host's mission is to get it. Why? The side mission this time actually asked I to get a diamond? That thing couldn't be eaten, and it took up space in her space. She still had a bunch of strange diamonds in her space. And destroy it. The system added. Shisheng blinked. That's possible. I knew the host was more interested in destruction. Angel's Heart. Why did this thing sound familiar? Check the Angel's Heart data. No, I refused. However, the system still couldn't control itself and began to recite. Angel's Heart, produced in the deep sea of Lithia. It was independently polished and carved by the famous sculptor Carl Johann over the course of 7 years. Due to its rare color and unique shape, it was given the title of Angel's Heart. The Angel's Heart was passed through many countries, but everyone who obtained it would be cursed, so it was also called Curse. A cursed gem? But why did this quest have to be done by me? What does it have to do with you? This mission is related to the male lead. The system continued to explain uncontrollably. It wanted to shut up, but it couldn't. Sob, sob, sob. Master, come back quickly. The host is going to break me. What relationship? The system heaved a sigh of relief. This question required a higher level of authority to answer. The system did not reply for a long time. Shisheng said faintly, I have to change it when I get back. No, host, please let me go. After Shisheng finished talking with the system, Han Xiao was still playing with the dog. Shisheng grabbed the laptop and started typing furiously. Angel's heart. Angel's heart. Rumor has it that it was finally collected by the Sea Country's royal family. There were so many reports about the Angel's heart online. Sea Country? What the hell? President Liu. What are you talking about? Han Xiao did not hear what Shisheng was saying, so she couldn't help but ask. Nothing. Shisheng shook his head. Han Xiao touched the samyed suspiciously. At this moment, the doorbell suddenly rang. Han Xiao went to open the door. The samyed followed behind her. As soon as the door opened, the samyed barked twice and ran out of the door. Shisheng didn't care at first, but suddenly there was a quarrel outside. The sound was getting closer and closer. Han Xiao was pushed and her body fell directly at the door, knocking it open. Shisheng walked a few steps over. Outside the door stood a delicately dressed young girl. She had a head of curly hair and looked very pure and sweet. Isn't this Lu Shengge? As soon as the young girl opened her mouth, the pure sweetness disappeared in an instant, leaving only sarcastic disdain. You can still live here? Are you being kept by someone? Shisheng helped Han Xiao up. His eyes swept over the young girl, and the corner of his mouth slightly raised. Xiao Linglong. Yifeng's pure little junior sister. Xiao Linglong knew that the original owner and Yifeng were close, and had always been jealous of the original owner. A trace of hatred flashed across Xiao Linglong's face. She held a haughty attitude and snorted. Sure enough, the kind of person raises the kind of servant. You actually allowed her to steal my shui shui. Where is your upbringing? Han Xiao explained. Miss Xiao, I've already said that your dog is lost. I've already talked to the security and I didn't steal your dog. If this kind of thing happened to other people who had no conflict with Shisheng, they would only need to explain. Unfortunately, they met Xiao Linglong. Well said. Why don't you send my dog back to me? Xiao Linglong sneered. Lu Shengge can't even afford to pay you, so you came to steal my shui shui. If you're so short on money, I can help you a little. Han Xiao was annoyed. If she knew that the dog's owner was such a person, she wouldn't have picked up the dog even if she was beaten to death. Do you believe that I'll cut you if you continue to talk nonsense? Shisheng suddenly became ferocious. This mature woman's face was definitely very scary when she was ferocious. Xiao Linglong took a step back. Lu Shengge, you have nothing. Now you have to rely on men. What's there to be arrogant about? Do you still think that you're the CEO of the Lu Corporation? Towards the end, Xiao Linglong's voice became louder. She was no longer the CEO Lu that everyone praised. Why was she afraid of her? Her family always compared her to Lu Shengge, but she was still in dire straits. In this circle, among the rich young ladies, Lu Shengge was the most popular. When a person was in the limelight, they would also attract hatred. Lu Shengge belonged to this kind of person. Other than men, there were a lot of rich young ladies in the circle who didn't like her. But it was different now. She was no longer the strong woman, Lu Shengge. She was bankrupt. She was in dire straits. Xiao Linglong couldn't help but straighten her back and look at Shisheng fearlessly. *CK your man. With just one look, you can tell that I'm the big boss of a kept man, okay? Idiot. Shisheng's hand that was behind his back slowly appeared. A cold light flashed across Xiao Linglong's eyes. A chill suddenly rushed from the bottom of her feet to her head. Shisheng raised his hand and was about to cut her. Xiao Linglong's expression changed drastically. She turned around and screamed as she ran away. Lu Shengge, you're crazy. The samyed didn't run with Xiao Linglong. Instead, it lay on the ground and shivered, letting out a low whimper. It was probably scared by the iron sword. Chapter 593. Han Xiao was shocked when Shisheng suddenly pulled out the sword. She only came back to her senses when Xiao Linglong screamed and ran away. She didn't seem to have prepared this kind of decoration for Chairman Lu, right? What a realistic sword. When did Chairman Lu bring it back? Han Zhao's head was full of question marks. Shisheng poked the samyed on the ground with the sword. The samyed howled pitifully. Han Zhao's mouth twitched. Why did she feel like Chairman Lu wanted to poke the dog to death? The dog is innocent. Please be merciful. I'm sorry, Chairman Lu. I've caused you trouble. Han Xiao apologized guiltily. If she didn't bring the dog back, Xiao Linglong wouldn't have come. And Xiao Linglong wouldn't have said such unpleasant words. Shisheng poked the dog for a long time. The howling made Han Zhao's heart soften. Such a cute dog. Chairman Lu, how could you do that? How much for one of these? Shisheng asked out of the blue. Han Xiao was stunned and answered cautiously. Normal ones aren't expensive. A normal Samoyed was only a few thousand. But the people who lived here were all rich people. Who knew if this dog was plated with gold? Its value would probably be many times higher. Anyway, it was beyond the reach of normal dogs. Xiao Linglong came back quickly with her people. She just happened to see Shisheng poking her dog. She grabbed the people beside her and ran over. Lu Xingge, don't touch my shui shui. Yi Feng was surprised to see Shisheng. He still remembered what happened last time. He couldn't help but feel a little depressed. He went to the previous place to look for her, but it had been sold. He couldn't find her. Now he saw her in such a high-end place. How could Yi Feng not be surprised? This woman actually had the money to live in such a high-end place? Probably because someone was supporting Xiao Linglong. Xiao Linglong directly rushed to Shisheng. Let go of shui shui. Shisheng laughed and poked it again. He smiled evilly and said, I poked it. What can you do to me? So what if you have the male lead supporting you? I am a man with a sword. Samoyed. Ow wow, I'm innocent. Han Xiao. CEO Lu's style was getting weirder and weirder. It must be because she had never seen CEO Lu in real life. It must be like this. Yes, it must be like this. You. Xiao Linglong was so angry that her face turned red. She grabbed Yi Feng's hand and shook it. Brother Feng, quickly help me save shui shui. Her voice was as soft as a kitten's, making one's heart go numb. Most men liked women who acted coquettishly. And Yi Feng obviously had such a setting. With Xiao Linglong acting coquettishly, how could Yi Feng resist? Shunga, let go of exquisite snow. Why do you have to be so calculative with a puppy? I didn't pull it. Shisheng looked at Yi Feng as if he was an idiot. It doesn't want to leave. Are you blaming me? Brother Feng, she wanted to kill me just now. Xiao Linglong complained as her petite body leaned against Yi Feng. I want to kill you now too. Shisheng waved his iron sword, his smile full of malice. Xiao Linglong was so scared that she shivered and hid behind Yi Feng. There were tears at the corner of her eyes. Her pitiful look was heartbreaking. Lu Xingge, are you crazy? Yi Feng's eyes were full of anger toward Shisheng. If you don't take your little beauty with you, I might really go crazy. Shisheng looked around. Was there any surveillance camera here? Wouldn't it be troublesome to kill someone? Host, don't have such dangerous thoughts. The system dutifully reminded him, although it was useless. When Yi Feng heard Shisheng's words, he didn't know why, but he thought Shisheng was jealous. She still liked him deep down. Women were indeed cheap. If Shisheng knew Yi Feng's thoughts, he would kill Yi Feng even if he had to destroy this world. Yi Feng couldn't help but soften his expression. Shunga, put down your sword. If you like dogs, I'll give you one. You can return this one to my junior sister. Shisheng looked at Yi Feng, who had calmed down, inexplicably. Did he take the wrong medicine? Xiao Linglong also felt the change in Yi Feng. She couldn't help but secretly glare at Shisheng. She was seducing Brother Feng again. Brother Feng. Xiao Linglong grabbed Yi Feng's arm. Is Lu Xingge really crazy? Look at her eyes. It's like she's a different person. What happened before must have been a big blow to her. Yi Feng looked at Shisheng from head to toe. His eyes stayed on Shisheng's chest for a few seconds. He also felt that Lu Xingge was a different person. Especially when she was facing him. That look in her eyes was as if he would dissolve in the next second, not even leaving a trace of him. Sister Lu, I know a doctor. Do you want me to introduce him to you? If you're sick, you should be treated. If you need money, I can pay for it. Xiao Linglong continued to look for trouble. Hey. Eyes temper. Shisheng raised his sword and slashed at her. The iron sword whistled through the air. A tyrannical pressure crushed over. Xiao Linglong's little face suddenly turned pale. Maybe she was scared out of her wits, but she didn't dodge. This time Yi Feng was prepared. He held Xiao Ling Long and dodged to the side. The iron sword brushed past his back, bringing with it a bone-piercing chill. Yifeng couldn't help but shiver. It was so cold. It felt like he suddenly fell into a world of ice and snow in his underwear. Before he could steady himself, the chill swept over again. Yifeng threw Xiao Ling Long to the side. The two of them rolled into the flowers on the side. Shisheng just took 2 steps forward. Suddenly, a yellow thing fell from above and hit the ground beside Shisheng's feet. Buzzing noises could be heard instantly, followed by which, dark hornets flew out of the beehive. Shisheng. My luck is amazing. The iron sword swung through the air. Before the hornets could get close, they were blown away by a gust of wind. They flew around dizzily in the air. The perfect formation was broken. Shisheng swung again. A group of hornets was thrown to Yifeng and Xiao Ling Long. Ah! Xiao Ling Long's scream suddenly sounded. Yifeng hurriedly protected Xiao Ling Long and drove away the hornets. However, the effect was not good. Yifeng could only protect Xiao Ling Long and escape. The hornets buzzed and chased after them. In the end, the two of them were saved with the help of a group of security guards. However, the two of them were badly stung, especially Yifeng. His whole face was swollen. Xiao Ling Long's face was protected by Yifeng. She was fine, but her arm was badly stung. Brother Feng. Xiao Ling Long grabbed Yifeng's hand. Her face was full of tears. Her voice was full of grievance. Lu Xingge did it on purpose. Yifeng's expression changed very quickly. Ever since he got that magical software, he had never been so aggrieved. Xiao Ling Long chattered. Lu Xingge is bankrupt. How can she still afford to live here? Brother Feng, do you think she has a boyfriend? What she said sounded nice, but the implied meaning was, Shisheng was kept by someone. After all, how could a down-and-out CEO afford to live in such a high-end place? Yifeng's expression darkened. Asterisk, please vote. Chapter 594. After dealing with the retarded male protagonist, Shisheng turned around and saw the dumbfounded Han Xiao and the stupid dog. Han Xiao felt like she had walked into the wrong place. Or maybe she was still asleep. Was this still her CEO? She could no longer hypnotize herself with the words CEO Lu in life and CEO Lu at work. Could it be that Director Lu was possessed by a ghost? The more Han Xiao thought about it, the more scared she became. She broke out in a cold sweat. Seeing Shisheng walking towards her, Han Xiao actually took a step back, trembling. I'm not going to kill you. What are you afraid of? Shisheng stared at her. Han Xiao wanted to cry. CEO Lu, you're even scarier now. Send this stupid dog away. Shisheng pointed at the Samoyed dog that was still lying on the ground, his face full of disdain. Oh. Han Xiao nodded unconsciously. Han Xiao didn't know where the Xiao family was and didn't want to go there. She sent the dog to the security guards and asked them to send it there. On the way back, Han Xiao was very conflicted. Was Chairman Lu possessed by a ghost or not? Should she ask for a talisman and come back? Han Xiao thought this was a good idea. She ran to the nearest Taoist temple and asked for an exorcism talisman. There was a woman lining up next to her, and she chatted with Han Xiao. As the two of them talked, Han Xiao inadvertently told the woman about the matter that was bothering her. The woman was shocked. Then why don't you resign? Han Xiao blushed. Our CEO is very handsome. The woman immediately showed a look of understanding. Then she heard Han Xiao say, the CEO's salary is twice that of outside. The woman. Looks plus money. This little girl wasn't even afraid of ghosts. Han Xiao asked for the talisman, put it away, and hurried back. Shisheng wasn't in the living room. Han Xiao carefully moved to the bedroom. There was nothing wrong with the talisman. Han Xiao couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Everyone wanted peace of mind. Send a dog. You've lost her. Shisheng's voice came from behind. Han Xiao was so shocked that she broke out in cold sweat. Her heart was beating so fast that it felt like it was going to jump out. She was scared to death. She touched the talisman on her chest. She didn't feel anything. Fortunately, Han Xiao took a deep breath and turned around. Her CEO was holding a bowl of instant noodles. She should have been in the kitchen just now. She didn't pay attention when she came up. After all, the instant noodles didn't cause much of a stir. President Liu, where did you get your instant noodles? Han Xiao choked out a sentence after a long time. She didn't remember buying such things, and the brand was very strange. She had never seen it before. Sheng was speechless. She took it from her space, so it might have been left over from the previous world. Hashtag the host who can never light up her cooking skills deserves to eat instant noodles. Hashtag. Sheng put the instant noodles aside and said seriously, I found it in the kitchen. Didn't you buy it? Han Xiao shook her head. I've never bought instant noodles. If you didn't buy it, did I? Sheng glared at him. Maybe you took the wrong one. Really? I'm hungry. Sheng interrupted Han Xiao. Han Xiao. She really didn't buy it. However, looking at Sheng's determined expression, she began to doubt again. Had she really bought it? It couldn't be that. Was it haunted? Han Xiao was scared by this thought, and had goosebumps all over her body. She must have taken the wrong one. She turned on all the lights in the kitchen, and finally felt a little safer. After the wasp incident, Xiao Linglong's father, Xiao Mao, suddenly sent someone to send her an invitation to attend a jewelry auction. Xiao Mao sent the invitation either because of Xiao Linglong, or someone was plotting against her. No matter which one it was, she wanted to show off to the male lead. She was going to show off too. President Liu, we don't have to go. These people didn't seem to have good intentions. Sheng crossed his legs and sat casually without a care for his image. Do you know what we should do when the enemy is in a good mood? In their current state, they could only endure, and then make a comeback. However, President Liu didn't seem to have any intention of making a comeback. So what should they do? Sheng's lips curved slightly and his light pink lips moved slightly. Show off. Han Xiao was dumbfounded. You have to have the ability to show off first. Can we walk out of the auction if we show off like this? Even if we don't get beaten to death, we will be mocked to death. Han Xiao's dissuasion was useless. On the day of the auction, Sheng still went. He didn't bring Han Xiao. Han Xiao was very tired. President Liu actually asked her to wait for him outside. Was he planning to run away after showing off? Sheng had just stepped through the door when someone came up to him. The man's gaze wandered around her body with evil intentions. Isn't this President Liu? Who did you come with? What President Liu? The man's female companion sneered disdainfully. The Liu Corporation is gone. What kind of President Liu is she? You can't say that, baby. After all, she used to be a president. We have to be polite. The woman pushed the man and said coquettishly, I think you like her. Baby, how can that be? I like women like you just like President Liu. The man's gaze moved up and down. How boring in bed. These two people were here to ridicule Sheng. Sheng's face slowly hung a bright smile. Under the surrounding lights, it was even more dazzling. The man was dazed for a moment. Sheng slowly approached him. His smile widened. The next moment, it suddenly became sinister. The man was so shocked that he gasped. Suddenly, he felt a pain in the back of his foot. Sheng stepped on the man's foot and walked over. After 2 steps, he walked back. The smile on his face was still there, but it was full of malice. Whether I'm interesting in bed or not, you'll never know in this lifetime. Shameless. The woman scolded. Shameless people are invincible. Sheng touched his face narcissistically. Besides, this face of mine is much better than yours. Liu Xingji's face could definitely make a living in the entertainment industry. Coupled with her body, even if she was a vase, there would be people paying for her. Hit the snake where it hurts. When it came to women, it was nothing more than beauty. Men luxury goods. The woman's face turned green. Who wants to compete with you in terms of beauty? President Liu's skin is much thicker than before. The man endured the pain and gritted his teeth. There were many people watching the show. Ever since the Liu Corporation went bankrupt, this beautiful president, who used to be the center of attention, seemed to have disappeared. Now she was so arrogant as soon as she appeared. Without a doubt, these people who had been speculating all year round started to wonder if she had hooked up with a rich man, or if she had some tricks up her sleeve. When the Lu Corporation went bankrupt, many people harbored dirty thoughts and waited for her to come to their door and ask for help. Who wouldn't want such a beautiful woman? What made everyone's jaws drop was that she, the legitimate head of the Lu Corporation, didn't even try to save it. She just watched the Lu Corporation go bankrupt. Now she was still so arrogant. How could they not be suspicious? Just as they were secretly guessing, Shisheng said faintly, "Those who have nothing to lose are not afraid of those who wear shoes. If we're going to die, we'll die together. We'll share our blessings. Don't you think so?" Everyone trembled. What kind of blessings was this? This Lu Xingge must have gone crazy from the stimulation, right? Chapter 595. Due to Shisheng's scary words, the onlookers started to disperse. Don't argue with a lunatic. Maybe the lunatic will kill you in the next second. You really came. A delicate voice came from Shisheng's side, with a hint of disdain. Shisheng turned his head and saw a woman holding a glass of champagne, leaning against the wall. Her long legs were exposed from the slit of her cheongsam. Very seductive. Liang Qing, an A-list celebrity. She was also the woman who persuaded the original host to accept Yifeng's other woman and asked to share the same husband. Lu Xingge, look at how miserable you are now. Liang Qing sympathized with her. If you had agreed to be with Yifeng, would you have ended up like this? Otherwise, would I be like you? Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Watching your man with another woman. Liang Qing probably still felt uncomfortable, but she didn't show it on her face. Instead, she said affectionately, "I'm willing to be with a man like Yifeng. As long as I have a place in his heart, I'll be satisfied." I can't agree with this theory. Men should belong to her alone. Whoever dares to touch him will be killed. Oh, what if he's just a poor boy? When Yifeng was poor, even the school bell didn't like him. Yifeng without money, even if he had a good appearance, it was just SOSO. So money is really a good thing. It's necessary to be an evil capitalist. How can Yifeng be a poor boy? Liang Qing looked at Shisheng with disdain. Shisheng smiled. He's always been a poor boy. Yifeng was born in the countryside. His family wasn't very well off. He was able to go to university with financial support. If it weren't for his cheat, he would still be a poor boy working part-time all day. Lu Xingge, are you jealous? Jealous? What a joke. What's there to be jealous of? Okay, I'm jealous. Who told him to be the male lead and have a cheat so easily? I don't even have a newbie gift package. Does the host plan to remember this joke for the rest of her life? Liang Qing took 2 steps towards Shisheng. She was as proud as a queen. Lu Xingge, you were the one who gave up on Yifeng. You brought this upon yourself. I don't care about a man who has slept with so many women. Liang Qing's expression changed slightly. What's wrong with men having a few women these days? In this circle, who didn't have a group of women in private? Yifeng was rich and handsome. He was much better than those old men. Shisheng grinned and said in an extremely arrogant tone, "Well, it's nothing. That's why I plan to keep a few more gigolos." Liang Qing, on the other hand, seemed to have heard a funny joke as she laughed hysterically. Lu Xingge, are you daydreaming? With your current net worth, it's more like you're being kept by someone. Ah, that's right. You didn't come here with a man today, did you? I really didn't expect that the beautiful CEO who used to be so glamorous would end up being a kept woman. Shisheng thought that Yifeng's women were all crazy. They were all kept as mistresses. Other than being kept as a mistress, was there nothing else in her mind? Yeah, I'm being kept as a mistress. You don't like it? If you don't like it, you can ask Yifeng to keep you as a mistress. Idiot. Shameless people are invincible. When I'm shameless, even I'm scared of myself. Liang Qing was speechless. She dared to be so arrogant even though she was being kept as a mistress. How shameless. Heh. Then I don't know who's lucky enough to keep you as a mistress. Liang Qing sneered. He's really blind. No matter how blind he is, he's not as blind as Yifeng. Shisheng put on a fake smile. What kind of women did he have his eyes on? Shisheng's gaze fell on Liang Qing's chest. As Liang Qing's expression gradually changed, he suddenly realized something and said, Maybe Yifeng doesn't look at the inside, but the outside. No wonder he likes me. Having a good figure is also a sin. Liang Qing looked down at her body and then looked at Shisheng. Her expression became even worse. Her figure was much worse than Shisheng's. Lu Xingge, are you always so shameless in private? Liang Qing said hatefully. No wonder people are fighting for you even when you're bankrupt. Do you want me to introduce you to a few people to help you expand your business? Shisheng narrowed his eyes and smiled faintly. How can I steal your business? Liang Qing reacted half a beat later. She raised her hand angrily to slap Shisheng. Shisheng quickly dodged to the side. Liang Qing's hand hit the railing behind Shisheng. It was a loud muffled sound. Ah! Liang Qing screamed in pain. There are always idiots who want to harm me. Scared. Shisheng pulled her from behind. Liang Qing's body staggered backward. Her high heels tilted and she fell to the ground. Kacha kacha. Flashes suddenly sounded. Liang Qing's scream had attracted a lot of attention. A few reporters appeared out of nowhere and madly took pictures of Liang Qing, who fell to the ground. When Liang Qing fell, her legs were wide open. Her underwear was directly exposed to the reporters. Liang Qing couldn't care less about the pain on her wrist. She quickly closed her legs and pulled the cheongsam to cover it. The pain and anger on her wrist made her expression twisted. There was no beauty left. However, the reporters had already taken enough photos. They were already thinking about how to use the title. Hashtag the beautiful goddess on the screen dressed up like this to attend an event. Hashtag the goddess of the screen. And the former beautiful president of the year. Hashtag. Shisheng shrugged innocently. You can't blame me for this. Who told you to hit me? I'm already being merciful by not cutting you with my sword. Liang Qing was so angry that her body trembled. Liang Qing was hurriedly taken away by her agent. At this time, Xiao Linglong came in with Yifeng. The two wore matching dresses. When they stood together, the man was handsome and the woman was charming. What a perfect couple. Liang Qing saw this and couldn't help but get angrier. As a woman, even if she admitted that the man had other women, she still hoped that the man would treat her well. Yifeng was already a little famous in the circle. Many people knew this young man who suddenly appeared. He was handsome, generous, and spent a lot of money. His appearance was no doubt high profile. Xiao Linglong leaned on Yifeng like a little bird, enjoying the envious and jealous gazes from all around. Yifeng was already a little famous in the circle. Many people knew this young man who suddenly appeared. He was handsome, generous, and spent a lot of money. His appearance was no doubt high profile. Xiao Linglong leaned on Yifeng like a little bird, enjoying the envious and jealous gazes from all around. Little fairy. Curious, daughter, do you really want to keep a gigolo? Shisheng. Cold face, what for? Little fairy. Weak voice, warm the bed? Feng Xiai. Smiling. I think you forgot about your son-in-law. Little fairy. Ah, who let this psychopath out? Shisheng. Who are you talking about? Little fairy, me, please vote. Chapter 596. Yifeng probably saw Shisheng, but he didn't come over. Instead, he brought Xiao Linglong to the lounge. Shisheng stood alone in the corner, bored. When the auction started, Yifeng brought Xiao Linglong out. What was strange was that Xiao Linglong had changed her clothes. Xiao Linglong's face was peachy, shy and timid. She followed Yifeng like a little wife. TSK. Yifeng's speed of sleeping with girls was really good. Liang Qing and Xiao Linglong should have been slept with by Yifeng. The crazy girl next door shouldn't have been slept with yet. The cold-blooded killer hadn't appeared yet. Yifeng's 4 girls had already slept with half of them. However, Shisheng saw Liang Qing enter the hall. She had changed her clothes, and her expression was similar to Xiao Linglong's. This was King awkward. Shisheng couldn't bear to look at it. He held his forehead and admired the author. The auction officially started. Yifeng went up and raised his sign. The things he bought were all over the place. Shisheng squinted his eyes. Was it a mission? Yifeng didn't need to pay for the money he spent on the mission, but there was a limit. For example, if the value of the item exceeded, Yifeng had to pay for the extra money. Shisheng secretly raised his sign. Number 52. Yi Feng saw her raise her sign and immediately went against Shisheng. Number 7. Number 36. Number 52. Number 7. The entire auction became the main show for these two people. The idling background started to gather and chat. Wasn't it rumored that Yi Feng and Lu Xingge were close? What's up with these two now? Yi Feng bought the Lu Corporation before, but it went bankrupt. Could it be that Yi Feng hates Lu Xingge? When Yi Feng bought the Lu Corporation, some people thought that Yi Feng was going to go overboard this time. However, he didn't take it to heart. What's the background of this Yi Feng? They investigated Yi Feng's background, but other than knowing that he was a student of some university, they couldn't find anything else. Could it be that some big tycoon came to squander money? Yi? This surname. Going once on the 7th, going twice on the 7th, going thrice on the 7th. Sold. The auctioneer made the final call. Everyone stopped talking and looked up. The big screen showed the final price of the auction. A piece of jewelry that was only worth $1 million was sold for $5 million by these two people. The rich didn't understand the world of the rich. In the following auctions, whenever Yi Feng didn't raise his paddle, Shisheng would raise her paddle secretly. As long as she raised her paddle, Yi Feng would raise his paddle as well. Then, it became an auction between the two of them. Shisheng's nonchalant attitude made Yi Feng dislike her very much. She had nothing, yet she still dared to put on airs in front of him. Did she really think that he would always like her? So today's last auction item, lucky. The MC placed the last item on the display table. It was a diamond bracelet. The audience was in an uproar. Many people had come for the last item, lucky. This bracelet was made from the same material as the angel's heart. It was a bracelet made from the leftover corner of the angel's heart after Carl John finished carving it. Although its value couldn't be compared to the angel's heart, it was made from the same material as the angel's heart and Carl John's fame. This bracelet was also the target of many collectors. Carl John gave it to his wife and named it Lucky. The meaning of this bracelet was luck. He hoped that this bracelet could bring luck to his wife. And it could indeed bring luck to people. It was the exact opposite of the curse of the angel's heart. Of course, this was just a rumor. Lucky has been missing for a century. Not long ago, our auction house was fortunate enough to receive a commission from the collector who collected Lucky. Due to his own reasons, he wanted to auction it off. I'm sure everyone knew when you came here. So this bracelet that can bring luck to people, who will be the lucky one? The auctioneer explained the origin and value of Lucky in detail. The starting price is 80 million. Each increment must be no less than 1 million. The auction officially begins. 82 million. 83 million. As soon as the auctioneer's voice fell, someone made a bid. No one could tell the value of the angel's heart. It could be as high as a few billion, even if it had the title of curse. Even this lucky bracelet that was the exact opposite of the curse was worth several times more. Those who made a bid now would definitely not be able to afford it. Those who had the ability to get lucky hadn't made a bid yet. Shisheng looked at Yi Feng. Although Yi Feng tried his best to hold it in, his facial expression still betrayed him. He was very excited at this moment. He wanted that bracelet. And Xiao Linglong obviously wanted it too. She pulled Yi Feng's arm and acted coquettishly. Shisheng held his chin and thought. She wasn't interested in this thing. Then, raise the price. After all, the male lead was rich. He didn't lack this money. So when the bidding reached the climax, those who made a bid had already stopped. Now the competition was for those who had the ability to get lucky. Shisheng increased the bid by 10 million every time. Some people were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. Chairman Liu, you're already bankrupt. What are you doing here? Chairman Liu, do you have the money to pay? Someone couldn't stand it anymore and asked sarcastically. Anyway, I'm not the one who pays in the end. Shisheng answered matter-of-factly. Lu Xingge, you're deliberately raising the price. Yes, can't I? Shisheng looked at that person with a smile. You don't even have this much money. How dare you call yourself a rich person? Everyone. You're too calm when you admit it. The auction didn't explicitly state that no one was allowed to raise the price. After all, the higher the bid, the more commission the auction would get. Who would complain about more money? Shisheng looked at these people calmly. Now there are two solutions. Either you continue to bid, or you throw me out. After a pause, he kindly suggested, well, I suggest you choose the first option. You can't throw me out. Everyone. This bankrupt CEO was so arrogant. Someone throw this bankrupt CEO out. The last sentence had the same effect as, if we're going to die, we're going to die together. What happened before had traumatized these people. They felt that the bankrupt CEO came to the news agency, so they chose to continue bidding. The price had risen to 460 million. Yifeng didn't give up bidding. Shisheng would only bid after Yifeng finished bidding. It was obvious that he wanted to make things difficult for Yifeng. Some people couldn't help but stare at Yifeng angrily. Yifeng was the one who got into trouble, and now they were going to follow suit. But as the price continued to rise, these people could only look at it and sigh. They always thought that they were rich, but now they realized that they were so poor that they had to eat dirt. 656 million. This was the highest price Lucky could get. Any higher and it wouldn't be worth it. The people who were bidding gave up. In the end, there were only 3 people left. Yifeng, Shisheng, and a man in a suit. The man in the suit sat straight and didn't say anything. He just raised his paddle silently. Chapter 597. Yifeng was a bit anxious. The price was almost beyond his budget. Other than Shisheng, there was also a man in a suit that he didn't know. Yifeng braced himself and continued to bid. Shisheng gave up after 2 bids because she realized that the man in the suit had no intention of giving up at all. The price of the auction was skyrocketing. It was so expensive that the rich people wanted to eat dirt. The world of rich people was so scary. Yifeng wanted to give up. This price was not something he could afford. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, he caught sight of Shisheng, who was sitting not far away. Seeing the undisguised mockery on her face, Yifeng's heart was instantly filled with anger that could not be vented. What right did she have to sit there so openly and look at him with such a mocking expression? She was the one who was bankrupt. The 2 voices in his head were arguing. Keep bidding. Don't let her look down on you. Let her see how stupid it was for her to give up on you. Give up bidding. You don't have any extra funds. Don't ruin things for a woman. Just as Yifeng was struggling, someone else joined the battle from the back. It was a middle-aged man in a suit. He looked no different from the others. The crowd was in an uproar. This was probably the only time they would see such a scene in their lives. 900 million. The man in the suit opened his mouth for the first time. He directly raised the price from 790 million to 900 million. Everyone looked at Yifeng. It's your turn, rich man. Yifeng was sweating. Before he could call out, the middle-aged man behind him had already done so. 1 billion. 1 billion. Shisheng suddenly called out. All the rich people. Are you talking about mud? You just opened your mouth and raised it by 100 million. And the bankrupt CEO. Aren't you afraid that no one will take the bid? Where are you going to get 1 billion? Yifeng looked at Shisheng's expression and felt that she was provoking him. His brain heated up and he blurted out, 2 billion. There was a strange silence. The man in the suit and the man at the back did not raise the price. The auctioneer waited for a while before saying, once on the 7th, twice on the 7th, thrice on the 7th. Congratulations to this gentleman for winning Lucky. I wish you luck in the future. He made a lot of money. He made a lot of money. The auctioneer's face was almost rotten from laughing. Yifeng. Why isn't anyone bidding? Many people stood up to congratulate Yifeng, saying things like young and promising blah blah blah. Yifeng definitely didn't have that much available funds. He had to scrape together funds from all over the place to make up for it. In the end, all his previous efforts were in vain, and he owed the software a lot of points. Yifeng thought about it and felt that something was wrong. Could it be that the 2 people who bid at the end were hired by Lu Xingge to trick him? Very likely. He didn't expect this woman to be so cruel. At this moment, Yifeng probably hated Shisheng to the core. When Shisheng left the venue, he was stopped by the man in a suit. Miss Lu. The man in the suit bent down slightly, then took out a small box from his suit pocket. A gift for our first meeting. Shisheng. What the hell? Why did he give her a gift out of the blue? There was something wrong with him. Shisheng stepped back and went down from the other side. The tall figure of the man in the suit immediately jumped in front of Shisheng. Miss Lu, welcome. Not a single word was different. Even the tone and expression were the same. Meet your grandpa. Ah, there's a psychopath here. Shisheng kicked the man in the stomach. The man in the suit thought that Shisheng didn't have much strength, so he didn't take him seriously. But when he fell to the ground, he was stunned. When the man in the suit came back to his senses, Shisheng was already gone. The man in the suit got up from the ground, walked in a direction in frustration, crossed the road, and got into a car parked on the side of the road. It was very quiet in the car. Young master, Miss Lu didn't want it. What did you say? A very pleasant voice sounded from the side. The light in the car was very dim, so the person's face couldn't be seen clearly. Miss Lu, welcome. The man in the suit repeated with the same tone. You idiot, who told you to say that? The person called young master suddenly reached out a hand and slapped the man in the suit's head. Who told you to say that? Who? The man in the suit covered his head. Young master, you said that before. His retelling was correct, not a word missing, not a word missing, not a word missing, not a word missing. Why did the young master hit him again? The man in the suit was thrown out of the car, and the car drove away. Shisheng quickly got into Han Zhao's car. President Lu? Han Zhao looked at Shisheng's anxious face and her heart was in her mouth. President Lu didn't really do anything, did she? Drive, there's a psychopath behind us. Shisheng urged Han Zhao. Han Zhao looked behind the car and could vaguely see a figure coming this way. It was too far away, so she could only tell that it was a man from his height and figure. Han Zhao immediately started the car. Shisheng only started to curse after the car left the road. One man in the suit was enough, but there was actually a strange uncle. She was scared to death. Is my baby's beautiful appearance so attractive? Han Zhao looked at Shisheng strangely, touching her face and hands. What was President Lu doing? Han Zhao felt a little scared. The next day's news was very grand. The lucky bracelet was sold at a sky-high price. Actress Liang Qing's sexy underwear didn't even seem important. For a moment, everyone was talking about the sky-high price of the lucky bracelet. If it wasn't for the strict confidentiality of the auction, Yifeng would definitely be in the headlines. There were also people who questioned whether the lucky bracelet could really bring luck. Therefore, the person who won the bid became the focus of attention. Everyone was curious about who this godly tycoon was, and whether he would really be blessed by the god of luck. But thinking about it, if he could spend more than $1 billion on a bracelet, even if he didn't have the lucky bracelet, he was already a very lucky person. At the same time, since the auction, rumors of Shisheng being kept spread in the circle. There were all kinds of gossip. There were even people who dug up the original owner's previous relationships and investigated all the men who were related to her. In the end, the investigation somehow turned into the presidents who had intimate relationships with the beautiful president. President Lu, look at what they wrote. Night meeting with a certain president for 3 hours, driving away in the early morning. This is obviously because President Zhao was in a hurry to go abroad the next day, so you went to talk about the cooperation at night. Why did it become a night meeting with a certain president? Han Zhao pulled out a few untenable words in a row and said agitatedly with a red face. These reporters really had nothing better to do. Why didn't they report about the lucky bracelet? Why did they talk about President Lu? Shisheng leaned on the sofa with a leisurely expression. Why are you so agitated? They can just say the reason. Do you think it will become true just because they said it? President Lu, you don't know how terrible the public opinion is now. Some time ago, a little girl was forced to jump off a building because of public opinion. Even if you didn't do it, in their eyes you did. These internet mobs are not rational at all. Asterisk, please vote. Please vote. Chapter 598. Shisheng certainly knew the horror of public opinion. But she was not one of those fragile little girls. When I get violent, the whole world has to surrender. Shisheng really didn't want to listen to Han Xiao's nagging. She said that she was hungry and asked Han Xiao to cook. After sending Han Xiao away, Shisheng opened the computer and browsed through the major forums. These posts could be summed up into a book called My Romantic and Beautiful CEO. There are masters in the world. Shisheng sighed as she browsed the web. After sighing, she remembered that she hadn't opened a hole for a long time. Digging a hole. Shisheng forgot about the online defamation in the blink of an eye. When she finished the outline and the first 3 chapters, it was already dark. Han Xiao came twice. The first time was to ask her to eat, and the second time was to deliver food. However, when Shisheng came out, the internet was full of lucky Liangqing. What the hell? Shisheng finally found Liangqing's Weibo in the fragmented words of these people, and Liangqing posted a picture on her Weibo. It was Liangqing wearing the lucky bracelet. The time was half an hour ago. Shisheng refreshed the page, and the picture that was there just now suddenly disappeared. At this time, Liangqing was quarreling with Yifeng. Yifeng returned the phone to Liangqing with a bad face. How could you post this on the internet? Liangqing was also full of anger, but she pursed her lips and didn't speak. Liangqing did this to show off, and to let Yifeng's woman know that she was special in Yifeng's heart. But she didn't expect that Yifeng, who had always been gentle, would be so angry and almost hit her. The more Liangqing thought about it, the more wrong she felt, and tears fell down. You weren't like this before. Yifeng saw that Liangqing was crying and his heart immediately softened. Liangqing was Yifeng's goddess before he had the tycoon's free cultivation software, so he was more attentive to Liangqing than other women. Yifeng went forward and hugged Liangqing. Liangqing was a little angry. The two pushed and pushed for a while, and Liangqing still rolled with Yifeng. After conquering in bed, Yifeng and Liangqing analyzed how stupid she was. He was holding a bracelet worth more than $1 billion. Liangqing's actions would not only bring trouble to him, but also to herself. Sorry, I just thought it was fun. I didn't think too much about it. Liangqing apologized pitifully. What do we do now? Give me your phone. Liangqing immediately complied. Yifeng logged onto Liangqing's Weibo and took a few pictures with Liangqing's hand and posted them together. Liangqing v. I heard that this bracelet can bring good luck. If it's true, I definitely can't afford it. I just happened to meet a few fans who gave me one. Thank you, little fans. I hope that my upcoming drama will have a good box office. Picture. Yifeng even tagged Liangqing's crew that was about to start broadcasting. The production crew was a little confused, but since they could use the popularity to advertise, the production crew immediately responded. This was undoubtedly an advertisement for a bracelet with a sky-high price. First, he posted a picture without saying anything. Then, when everyone was discussing fervently, he posted a few more pictures to create a new drama. His intentions were not too obvious. Shisheng saw that the internet had calmed down and started to discuss Liangqing's new drama. He curled his lips in disdain. Yifeng didn't seem to be stupid. The next day, Shisheng was woken up by Han Xiao. She rubbed her aching head and looked at Han Xiao with a cute face. Chairman Liu, there's someone outside looking for you. Han Xiao helplessly helped her clean up the messy table. Chairman Liu had the foresight to ask for a personal assistant. With Chairman Liu's useless lifestyle, Han Xiao wondered how she survived in the past. It's so early in the morning, who is it? Shisheng got up from the bed. I don't know him. He's been waiting with the security. Without the owner's permission, the security would not let anyone in. Han Xiao didn't know him either, so she naturally didn't dare to make a decision. Shisheng went downstairs in a bad mood and saw an unfamiliar face on the walkie-talkie. Well, it wasn't unfamiliar. It was the man in the suit that she saw at the auction. How did he find her here? Shisheng asked someone to let him in. However, as soon as the man in the suit entered, he was tied up by Shisheng. Han Xiao was dumbfounded. Chairman Liu, kidnapping is illegal. Although she thought so, her body went to close the door to prevent others from seeing. Shisheng looked at the roses that the man in the suit dropped on the floor. There were still water droplets on them, as if they were just picked. Tell me, what do you want? Shisheng dragged a chair and sat opposite the man in the suit. The man in the suit had no expression on his face. He looked like he had facial paralysis. However, he was roaring inside. This Miss Lu is so violent. Why did the young master ask him to send flowers? Ah, young master, I want to go home. Flowers. The man in the suit answered honestly. He was here to send flowers. Why do you want to send me flowers? Do you like me? The man in the suit didn't answer. He just followed the young master's orders. How would he know what to do with the flowers? Maybe the young master just thought it was fun. Well, his young master was more capricious. Speak, are you mute? Shisheng took out his iron sword and slashed him. The man in the suit gasped. Why did he have to be beaten by the young master? Why did he have to be beaten up here? He couldn't accept it. The man in the suit gritted his teeth and didn't say anything. The young master didn't ask him to tell Miss Lu, so he couldn't say anything. Who asked you to send me flowers? What's your purpose? Sending flowers for no reason. He was either trying to kill her or coveting her body. The man in the suit shook his head with a poker face. No matter how Shisheng asked, the man in the suit either shook his head or didn't say anything. Otherwise, he would say the word flowers. This was even more suspicious, okay? I'm so angry. That idiot is coveting my beauty. Chairman Lu, is it okay for us to kidnap someone without permission? Han Xiao said weakly. The man in the suit immediately nodded. Kidnapping is illegal. One look and I know he's up to no good. He must be plotting something. Shisheng looked serious. Han Xiao. How is sending flowers a plot? Maybe he just likes you? How did Chairman Lu know he was up to no good? The man in the suit was innocent. He really was just sending flowers. There was no plot. Why did he have to take the blame for the young master? He couldn't accept it. Ahem. Chairman Lu, there's no evidence. Han Xiao blinked at Shisheng. What if he sues us for kidnapping? You're still being blackmailed even now. Have you ever seen a hostage delivered to your door? Shisheng rolled his eyes. This person walked in on his own accord. It had nothing to do with him. How much did your boss pay you? I'll pay you double. Tell me who's plotting against me. Han Xiao. Do your parents know you're twisting words and forcing logic? The man in the suit. Young master, I want to go home. Money won't make me yield. Chapter 599. When Shisheng increased the money tenfold, the man in the suit gave in. But Shisheng only heard the following conversation. It's our young master. Who's your young master? It's our young master. What's your young master's name? It's young master. This idiot. The man in the suit looked so serious that Shisheng suspected that he really didn't know his young master's name. His young master was right to use him. Even if he was bribed, it would be useless. Just as Shisheng was about to let go of the man in the suit, the door was suddenly knocked open, and policemen with guns filed in from outside. The scene suddenly became strange. The kidnapped man in the suit, and Shisheng with the sword looked like he was about to kill someone. The policemen all broke out in a cold sweat. If they had come one step later, this man would have been killed. Lu Xingge, put down the weapon. The policemen pointed their guns at Shisheng. Han Xiao had already been subdued, and was escorted to the side, looking at Shisheng in confusion. Shisheng. I wasn't going to kill anyone. Shisheng moved his fingers, and the iron sword slowly fell. The policemen all stared with their eyes wide open, not even daring to breathe. Bang! Clang! The one who fired the shot was a young policeman. After firing the shot, he threw the gun away, held his head and howled. Murder, he killed someone. But the others didn't have the time to care about this young policeman. Everyone's eyes were on the iron sword in Shisheng's hand. The iron sword just now blocked the bullet. Shisheng stretched his neck and looked at the iron sword. The mirror-like blade reflected the group of policemen opposite him. Shisheng suddenly raised the sword, looking like he was going to kill the man in the suit immediately. The air froze for a moment, and Shisheng's sword was getting closer and closer to the man in the suit. Fire! As soon as the order was given, the policemen immediately began to shoot. Countless bullets pierced through the air and shot toward the Shisheng. F***ck. This bunch of idiots. The speed of the bullets was very fast. They hit behind her and made a crackling sound. However, none of the bullets hit her. They were either deflected by the iron sword, blocked, or missed by their own volition. After shooting for a long time, he ran out of bullets, but the person on the other side was still standing intact. Reinforcements. Centennial Residence number 12 requesting reinforcements. The policeman took out his walkie-talkie and began to contact the headquarters. Today was simply too strange. Shisheng stabbed the iron sword into the ground, got into position and roared domineeringly. I said, bang. Crash. Shisheng looked at the broken chandelier on the ground silently. His heart was broken into pieces. Amazing, my luck value. Shisheng pulled a stool and sat down with a heavy heart. He looked at the man in the suit who was sitting opposite him with a straight face, and respected him for being a real man. Why did you barge into my house? Shisheng's voice was weak. You opened fire as soon as you came in. Are you crazy? He raised his voice abruptly and scared the people on the other side. You are in the right to kidnap someone? Policeman boldly asked. Do you know that kidnapping is against the law? Who told you that I kidnapped someone? Shisheng glared at him. If he told me, I definitely wouldn't kill him. Let me tell you, young lady. You're so young and have so many years ahead of you. I can see that you're well educated. Why do you have to do something that will ruin your future? The policeman advised gently. Put down your weapon and let's talk. If you have any problems, you can tell us. If we can help you, we'll definitely help you. Shisheng looked at the policeman from the corner of his eyes. Do you have 1 billion yuan for me? The policeman was speechless. Was this girl crazy? She was so crazy that she must be crazy. She must be a psychopath with some ability. Did you tell them that I kidnapped you? Shisheng kicked the man in the suit. The man in the suit shook his head mechanically. His facial expression was very stiff. So in the eyes of the police, she was threatening the hostage. She dared to threaten the hostage in front of them. She was simply looking down on the police. Look, I didn't kidnap him. I just asked him a few questions. Shisheng's innocent face suddenly turned serious. You just shot at me for no reason. I'm going to sue you. The policeman was speechless. This was the strangest case they had experienced this year. The suspect was actually going to sue them. Shisheng used his iron sword to cut the rope of the man in the suit. The policeman was silent again. Why did she release the hostage? Was she scared? A policeman winked at the man in the suit, indicating that he should hurry over. The man in the suit didn't move for a long time. The policeman was confused. What was going on? The hostage didn't have a bomb on him. Why wasn't he moving? My legs are weak. The man in the suit squeezed out 2 words. These people shooting at him scared him to death. At this moment, the sound of sirens echoed outside. At the police station, Shisheng sat with his arms crossed, his feet arrogantly propped up on a chair next to him. The man in the suit and Han Shao were separated and sat on their respective sides. The police station was strangely silent. From time to time, people's eyes fell on Shisheng. They heard that this woman could dodge bullets and wanted to sue the police. She was so awesome. The lawyer hired by Shisheng soon arrived. After watching Shisheng's explanation and law enforcement video, the lawyer felt that he had lived in vain before. If it were him, he would also think that this girl wanted to do something outrageous. Ahem, he was now the lawyer of his client. He couldn't think of his client like that. After the lawyer's full communication with the police station, as well as the testimony of the community security guard and the man in the suit, it was finally determined that Shisheng was really not the kidnapper. Sue them. Shisheng slammed the table. If I wasn't so powerful, they would have become a beehive now. We must sue them. Miss Liu, don't be agitated. At that time, your behavior was too suspicious. Our law enforcement officers. Don't talk nonsense. Just tell me, if I were a weakling, where would I be now? The police. Autopsy table? The lawyer. This client seemed to be crazy. Should he say something or not? The police officers present at that time were standing in a row with their heads down. They didn't even dare to breathe. In front of them, a middle-aged man was pacing back and forth. You guys, how many years have you been in the police force? How can you still make such a mistake? She's going to sue you now. Chief Zhang, you didn't see it. Miss Lu looked like she was going to kill someone. At that time, she was holding a sword like a lunatic. Even an old criminal police officer who had been in the police force for a lifetime would suspect that she was going to kill the hostages. She didn't do it at all. There is sufficient evidence and witnesses. Chief Zhang had a headache. When Shisheng first arrived at the police station, he also saw how arrogant he was. Unfortunately, they didn't care about it now. Then it's not right for her to casually tie someone up. Wouldn't that be suspicious? The point was that she was holding a weapon. She's an important suspect in another case. How can she be in the mood to sue us? Chapter 600. This person's words reminded everyone. At that time, they thought that she would do it because of this case. Since she was the suspect, how could they not be nervous when they saw her tying up a person and preparing to kill him? Therefore, they were not responsible for this incident. It was that psychopath's fault. Was it fun to kidnap someone for no reason? Something must have happened. Chief Zhang glared fiercely at those people, and they immediately lowered their heads. Here, one thing was another. Even if the psychopath was the suspect, they did not have direct evidence. They could not shoot her. When Shisheng heard that he was a suspect in a murder case, he was stunned. What did you just say? He felt that he was hearing things. The police officer coughed. Tonight at 3 in the morning, someone reported a fire at Landscape Century. The firefighters found a body after putting out the fire. The deceased was confirmed to be the actress, Liang Qing. When the police were collecting evidence, they found your fingerprints at the scene. So, Miss Lu, can you tell me where you were from 1 to 3 in the morning? Of course I was sleeping in the middle of the night. Shisheng glared fiercely. This is awesome. I can actually leave my fingerprints in the air. I don't even know where Liang Qing lives. How can I leave my fingerprints? No, the point is Liang Qing is dead. As one of the female leads, Liang Qing is dead? The police officer was speechless. Was this Lu Xingge crazy? Ahem. Miss Lu, do you have any proof? Shisheng looked at the police officer strangely and exploded. You arranged for someone to watch you sleep? The police officer said weakly. I have a partner. There was no need to arrange for someone. So what if you have a partner? I don't have one. Miss Lu, calm down. The police officer thought that he had agitated Shisheng and quickly comforted her. The lawyer who had been watching the show was speechless. Why was he here? This young lady seemed to be noisy and a little unreliable, but she was very clear about what she should and shouldn't say. So what was he here for? The police officer could not continue questioning Shisheng and quickly went out to ask someone else. However, before the person could ask a few questions, Shisheng scolded him. You were serious, but she was even more serious. She did not even care about being lenient if you confessed. In the end, only Zhang Ju went up personally. Chief Zhang pulled out a chair and sat down. He flipped through the records of the previous officers before raising his head and introducing himself. Shisheng glanced at him, but didn't say anything. Chief Zhang didn't mind. What kind of person hadn't he seen before? How could he not be able to handle this little girl? Miss Lu said that you were sleeping between 1 and 3 in the morning, right? Why are you still asking the same questions? Are you crazy? Would I be able to retract my confession if I asked again? No, I'm looking at the stars. What happened to not retracting his testimony? Miss Lu, this is the police station. Please watch your attitude. Chief Zhang's face darkened. She had already changed her words several times. Oh, then you should solve the previous problem first. We'll talk about the dead people later, Shisheng said calmly. Those idiots almost beat me to death. You want to use a murder case to fool me? Do you think I'm retarded? Zhangju. This girl was a little too calm. He put his fist to his lips and coughed. This is indeed the fault of the police. We will give Miss Lu an explanation. Shisheng waved his hand. Cut the crap. Ask them to compensate me for the damage done to my house, as well as mental compensation. Otherwise, I'll see you in court. Zhangju. This girl was quite easy to talk to. Easy my asterisk. Just now, They had received news from the villa that the things in her house could not even afford to buy one with their annual salary. Why? Are you trying to renege on your debt? Was I the one who broke those things? Zhang Ju felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. Which mental hospital was this lunatic released from? Hurry up and drag her back. After much negotiation, Chief Zhang finally decided that the police officers would collectively apologize. As for the compensation, they would pay a portion of it. If there was no compensation, they could only forget about it. Shisheng accepted the apology and waved his hand generously. You won't find someone as easy to talk to as me. The group of police officers. Indeed, she was a lunatic who couldn't be found even with a lantern. They didn't want to pay, but she still wanted to call the media. They weren't afraid that she would hit them. They were more afraid that she wouldn't do such a dirty trick. Shisheng wasn't retarded. If she hit them in the police station, wouldn't she be sending herself to their deaths? The group of police officers wanted to cry in the toilet. Their money. The police officers didn't have a high salary. It wasn't easy for them to save up some money. Now it was all gone. They might even be demoted. They all wanted to die. Now, Miss Liu, can you tell us what you were doing when the murder happened? Do you have any witnesses? Zhang Ju tried to calm himself down. If this girl was a murderer, he wouldn't show any mercy. Sleeping, Shisheng answered casually. I don't have the habit of being watched when I sleep. That means Miss Liu doesn't have any evidence to prove that you were sleeping when the crime happened. Then, other than my fingerprints at the scene, what other evidence do you have to prove that I was in that century? Zhang Ju was about to answer when the national anthem suddenly sounded. The voice came from Zhang Ju. He glanced at Shisheng, took out his phone, got up, and went outside to answer the call. When Zhang Ju came back, his face was even more serious than before. Miss Liu, the surveillance camera at the entrance of Landscape Century caught you entering and exiting. The surveillance camera at Banyan residence also caught you leaving at midnight. Miss Liu, do you have anything to say? Oh, so what? Zhang Ju was furious when he saw Shisheng's relaxed expression. He wanted to go up and slap him. So what? That means you're the murderer. Zhang Ju swore that he had never wanted to hit a girl so much. Shisheng propped up his chin. Let me give you two ideas. First, that person dressed up as me. As far as I know, the resolution of the surveillance camera at night isn't very high. Even if it's a high-end villa like Banyan residence, it can't be 100% restored. Second, someone tampered with the surveillance camera. If it's the first, it's easy to identify. If it's the second, then it's troublesome. The murderer is very good. Zhang Ju was speechless. He had been a police officer for so many years, but he had never seen such a suspect. When the evidence pointed to her, she didn't react at all. Instead, she calmly helped him analyze the situation. All right, although she had removed herself from the picture when she was analyzing, this wasn't something a normal person could do. Zhang Ju felt that he should call a psychologist. This suspect was not only arrogant, but also very good. ## pineapple flavored tickets today #. Chapter 601. The psychiatrist arrived quickly, but there was another person who arrived at the same time as the psychiatrist. Chief Zhang didn't realize who they were talking about at first, but he did after a while. Are you talking about Mu Bai? The one from the Mu family? Yes, that's him. The police officer looked at him with admiration. I didn't expect to see him in person. I'm so happy. When I was still in school, I heard about his deeds and idolized him. It's a pity that he didn't enter the police system. Who was Mu Bai? Mu Bai's name was like thunder in the ears of all the major police academies. Even these old people were very familiar with this name. Mu Bai solved a serial dismemberment case when he was only 15 years old. He entered the police academy when he was 17 years old. After that, he solved many murder cases. His accuracy was as high as 100%. The halo of a genius blinded countless people. At that time, many people were fighting for Mu Bai. However, Mu Bai didn't enter the police system and went abroad to study. After that, there was no news about him. Only his legend remained. Now this genius appeared in their police station. Was it going to rain red? Mu Bai stood in the police station for everyone to see. Behind him was a middle-aged man. If Shisheng was here, he would definitely recognize this man. He was the weird uncle who sat at the back of the auction and followed her. He's so handsome. He's much more handsome than the picture on the school's celebrity list. I heard that his family is very rich. I wonder if it's true. It's true. I was in the same batch as him. At that time, the school prohibited any special treatment. In the end, the Mu family donated a simulated murder laboratory building to the school. He could drive to and from school by himself. Most of the time he wasn't in school. Everyone was in an uproar. If this happened to an ordinary police officer, he would have been fired. Of course, the key is that he's very good. Even if he wasn't in school, his training and studies were always far ahead. He's a long way ahead of the second place. If he didn't have the ability, the school wouldn't have agreed even if he donated a lot of money. Everyone agreed with this point. They had all come from school. When the crowd was about to gather, Chief Zhang welcomed Mu Bai into the office. Mr. Mu, what brings you here today? Chief Zhang sized up the man who used to be a genius. At this moment, he still looked dazzling and stood at the top. Some people were just like that. They obviously had a good background, but they still had amazing talent. You can go now, but you can't leave the city. Wait for my summons. Shisheng, who was playing with a policeman's phone, suddenly heard this and looked up in surprise. Am I not a suspect? How can you bear to let me go? What if I run away? The police officer who passed the message. Thank you so much for being so considerate. When Shisheng came out of the interrogation room, Han Xiao immediately went up to him and said, President Liu, you're finally out. Han Xiao waited here for as long as Shisheng was inside. Fortunately, he was fine. Shisheng left the police station in confusion. When she walked out of the police station, she remembered the man in a suit. Where's that man in a suit? He was picked up by someone. I saw him get into a Bentley. I memorized the license plate number. Shisheng took the license plate from Han Xiao and went back to the police station. When the police officers saw that the lunatic that they had just sent away had returned, they were all on high alert. They were already so poor that they had to eat dirt. They didn't want to have nothing to eat. Shisheng grabbed a policeman and asked him to check the license plate number. The policeman cried, "This is against the rules." Although that was what he said, the policeman still helped Shisheng to check it. The car was registered under the name of a man named Li Gong. He was the president of a company. Li Gong? Li Gong? This name was amazing. Li Gong had both old and young at home, and he had a good reputation in the circle. He had no bad discipline, and he didn't have a mistress. So why would his people send her flowers? Was there something wrong with him? Shisheng left the police station again, and bumped into Yifeng at the door. He was wearing a black trench coat, and came in with a cold face. When he saw Shisheng, his eyes lit up and he rushed directly to Shisheng. Lu Xingge, how can you be so evil? You killed Qingqing. Han Xiao stepped forward and blocked the aggressive Yifeng. Mr. Yi, President Liu has nothing to do with this case. Nothing to do with her? Her fingerprints were at the scene. How can it have nothing to do with her? President Liu has no grudge with Miss Liang. Why did you kill her? Mr. Yi, please watch your words. Otherwise, I will sue you for false accusation. Although Han Xiao usually looked useless when it came to serious business, Han Xiao was not careless at all. She's just jealous. Yifeng gritted his teeth and his eyes were full of regret. Jealous? Shisheng pushed Han Xiao away and the corner of his mouth curved into a mocking smile. Jealous that she found a man who can marry anyone he wants? Marry anyone he wants? Was he scolding him? Lu Xingge, what? You want to hit me? Shisheng stretched his face in front of Yifeng. His face was full of provocation. Come and hit me. If you dare to touch a hair on I will dare to beat you up here. Even your woman won't recognize you. Yifeng looked at the fair and clean face in front of him, and his anger rose. He clenched his fists and raised them fiercely. Sir, please don't make trouble in front of the police station. Two policemen suddenly cut in from the side and blocked them. Miss Liu, please leave quickly. Don't make trouble here. How can she leave? She's a murderer. Yifeng's voice involuntarily rose. You saw me kill someone? Shisheng rolled his eyes. If I kill someone, don't worry. I will never let these idiots find any evidence. Not even the body. In the modern world, destroying the body was a little troublesome, but it did not mean that she could not destroy it completely. Policeman. Is it really okay to say such words? You're looking down on us too much. Mr. Yi, right? The policeman quickly changed the topic and looked at Yifeng. Miss Lu is now only a suspect, not a murderer. So please watch your words. The police pulled Yifeng inside and purposely separated the two of them. Now both of them were major suspects. When Yifeng unwillingly entered the police station, Han Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. But she did not forget to smear Yifeng's name. This Yifeng indiscriminately accused you of being a murderer. I heard from those people that he was with Liang Qing before. Maybe he killed her. Shisheng looked at Han Xiao. Why did they suddenly let me go? Han Xiao was confused. Didn't President Liu get rid of the suspicion? Do you think it's like washing clothes? Shisheng rolled his eyes. Did anything strange happen outside just now? Strange. Han Xiao thought for a while. Does a handsome man count? But he didn't stay for long. He left after about half an hour. Chapter 602. Han Xiao didn't know that man. She was standing some distance away from those people, so she didn't hear their discussion. She only saw that those people were excited. Shisheng's eyes flashed with a strange look. Ever since the last auction, inexplicable things had been happening. The man in the suit, the greeting gift, the flowers, and that strange uncle. Now he was inexplicably released. The car that picked up the man in the suit was Li Gong's car, but Li Gong wasn't a person who liked to eat, drink, and gamble, so he definitely wasn't the one who sent her the flowers. Then this car must be for the young master that the man in the suit was talking about. Go and find out which company Li Gong's company is based in, Shisheng ordered Han Xiao. Han Xiao was confused. Mr. Li's company. She had some impression of this Li Gong. He seemed to have started his own company and didn't have a head office. However, Shisheng didn't want to listen to Han Xiao. He lowered his head and continued to think. Now she couldn't figure out how she could come out. Was it related to the handsome guy that Han Xiao mentioned? If it was related, was he the young master that the man in the suit was talking about? If so, what was this idiot's purpose? It was so complicated. She didn't want to guess anymore. Block soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir, and people with a sword. Idiots must be destroyed. Yes. Let's do it. Back at the villa, Shisheng was heartbroken when he saw the mess in the house. Damn it, the compensation from the idiots at the police station wasn't even enough to buy her a sofa. Ring. Shisheng and Han Xiao looked outside the door at the same time. They had just returned and someone was already here? Han Xiao stepped on the glass shards on the ground and moved to the door. She looked at the person through the video walkie-talkie. It was a person dressed as an installer outside. Who are you looking for? Is this Miss Lu Xingga? The person outside the door answered quickly. Han Xiao frowned. Yes. Who are you? We are Anju Renovation Company. The furniture that Miss Lu ordered has arrived. Could you please let the security guard know so that we can send it in? Miss Lu, when did you order the furniture? Han Xiao looked at Shisheng in surprise. Miss Lu was in the mood to order furniture in the police station. I didn't. Shisheng shook his head innocently. You didn't? Send it to the wrong person? But he said your name. Han Xiao confirmed with the people outside again. That's right. Shisheng. There's an idiot coveting my beauty. I'm scared. In the end, that group of people was chased away. I won't take bribes if I haven't done anything. Most importantly, I don't lack money. I can't accept things of unknown origin. The news of Liang Qing's murder was eventually exposed. When the fire first broke out in Landscape Century, there were already reporters paying attention to it. Later on, the police came in and out, strictly prohibiting reporters from entering or leaving. Liang Qing was a public figure, and there were many people paying attention to her. It was not difficult for people to find out something. The power of the masses should not be underestimated. Once Liang Qing's incident came out, for some reason, everyone's attention was drawn to the lucky bracelet. Could this bracelet made of the same material as the angel's heart really bring luck? As for Shi Sheng, this suspect, he was naturally dug out by people. Extreme fans even ran outside of Banyan residence to scold him, catching batches after batches. Fortunately, these people couldn't enter Banyan residence, but they definitely couldn't run away from complaints from the owners. At the gate of Banyan residence, a group of people dressed in black, holding a portrait of Liang Qing, holding a banner that said, "Pay with your life for the murder, seek justice." A car drove through the agitated crowd and entered the underground garage of Banyan residence. The car stopped quietly, and someone ran over quickly from a distance. The chaotic footsteps were particularly abrupt in the basement. Several people stood respectfully outside the car. "Young master." The car door was open, but it was a man in a suit who came out. There was another person sitting in the car, but he didn't have any intention of getting out. The light in the basement slanted in, illuminating half of his figure. His white hand slowly raised, and he hooked his finger outside. The man in the suit stepped aside and motioned for the leading man outside to enter. The man nervously got into the car, and the man in the suit closed the door. The car gently shook a few times and calmed down. The basement was silent, and the people standing outside stepped back, looking frightened. The car door opened, and the man scrambled out. His voice trembled. "Young master, I'll do it right away." He was about to leave with his men when the person in the car suddenly said, "Wait a minute. Young master, do you have any other orders?" The man immediately bowed respectfully, as if he couldn't wait to kneel down. "Send this to her." His white hand reached out of the car and handed over a box. The man took it with trembling hands. "Yes." The man in the suit watched the people leave, and a trace of sympathy flashed across his expressionless face. With Miss Lu's personality, it would be strange if they could send it out. He didn't know what was wrong with the young master, but he fell for that psychopath. Could it be that psychopaths find psychopaths more pleasing to the eye? The man in the suit suddenly felt that his young master was looking at him. Just as he looked over, his young master suddenly reached out to close the car door, and the car sped off, the man in the suit. "Young master, even if you abandon me, it doesn't change the fact that you're a psychopath. If you're sick, take medicine. I think you can still be saved." The fans gathered outside Banyan residence were immediately cleared away. If anyone dared to cause trouble here, wait for a lawyer's letter. Those who couldn't go to Banyan residence could only curse Shi Sheng online. Being kept as a mistress, being a mistress, shameless. In any case, they would say whatever was unpleasant to hear. Han Xiao was angry, but there was nothing she could do. Her chairman Lu didn't care. Han Xiao touched the talisman on her chest from time to time. She always felt that Chairman Lu was gloomy. The man went to deliver the item after dealing with this matter, but the result was the same as the others. He didn't even get to see the item, let alone deliver it. Whatever the young master instructed him to do, he must do it well. So the man began to wander around the Shi Sheng villa unrelentingly, trying to deliver the item. However, the man was too naive. He had never seen it so difficult to deliver something. You should at least see it. Don't you know that it's very rude to refuse without seeing it? In the end, he didn't deliver the item. When the man returned the item, he was beaten up and came back with a bloody nose and a swollen face. That pitiful look made the others sigh. Don't provoke the young master. Too scary. Asterisk today's interview little fairy reporter. Mr. Feng, who pays every time you go out to eat with Shi Sheng? Feng Xi, usually it's me. Little fairy reporter. What about unusual situations? Feng Xi, dine and dash. Little fairy reporter. Hee hee, I didn't expect Mr. Feng to be so cute. Did Mr. Feng give Shi Sheng any special gifts? Feng Xiemi. Little fairy reporter. Feng Xi. Cold glance, isn't it enough to have me? Little fairy reporter. Chapter 603. Chairman Lu, this is the information you asked me to check. Han Xiao handed the information that she had painstakingly obtained to Shi Sheng. Li Gong's company didn't have a head office. He started from scratch and had a clean background. Shisheng was silent. She thought of the man who had sent her something recently. The last time she caught the man in a suit, she found out that he was a young master, and he was a nameless person. What the hell was this? Before Shisheng could figure out who the young master was, the police station sent someone to take her to the police station. Outside the police station, a group of reporters blocked the door. The police officer driving the car was stunned. Why are there so many reporters? The police officer didn't dare to drive closer. If he drove over, he would definitely be blocked. Liang Qing's case attracted a lot of attention. Recently, the police station's security had been upgraded. The police officer contacted the people inside and asked them to find a way to get rid of the reporters. However, the people inside couldn't do anything. These people were like crazy. Drive-in were not afraid of them. Shisheng sat in the back and began to express his opinion. They're obstructing official business. You can arrest them. The police officer. In this world, it was better not to offend the reporters. They could praise you to the sky with a pen, but they could also trample you to hell. Although the police officer didn't want to be discovered by the reporters, there were still some sharp-eyed reporters who saw the car parked here. They swarmed over and kept knocking on the window. The sharp and fast questions were a little muffled through the glass, but they were still harsh. Miss Liu, what happened between you and Miss Liang? Miss Liu, you were identified as the prime suspect by the police, but you were released when you were younger than 24. Was there a deal? Miss Liu, did you kill Miss Liang? The police officer kept contacting the police station and asked them to send people out to separate these terrible creatures. The police probably hated to be entangled with reporters. Sometimes, because of an unconscious sentence, the reporters could interpret it and change it into a completely different meaning, causing a storm on the internet. In such a tense atmosphere, Shisheng was still sitting calmly. There was even a trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth. The police officer got goosebumps from that smile. What was this lunatic trying to do? At this moment, Shisheng suddenly opened the car door and swaggered out of the car. The reporters were forced to retreat, but when Shisheng steadied himself, they quickly surrounded him again. The police officer's expression changed. Miss Liu, come out quickly, she's getting off the car. The last sentence was said by the police officer into the phone. Miss Liu, I heard that you had a conflict with Miss Liang not long ago. Did you kill someone because of that? Miss Liu, can you tell me how you feel right now? Shisheng looked at the reporter who had accused him of murder. His calm eyes met the sharp gaze of the reporter, and sparks flew in the air. Then, Shisheng defeated the reporter with his overwhelming gaze. The reporter's momentum suddenly weakened, and the blood in his body seemed to freeze. He felt that the person standing in front of him was not a girl, but a demon grinding his teeth, ready to pounce on him and tear his throat out. The reporter really didn't know why he had such a feeling. The person standing in front of him was clearly a young and beautiful lady. Did the police announce that I'm a murderer? Shisheng's red lips moved slightly, and the aura around him suddenly became fierce. Who said that I killed someone just now? Come out now. I'll show you what it means to kill someone. The reporters were silent. She was a suspect, but her aura was stronger than theirs. Miss Liu, are you bluffing? You're guilty, right? You did this to Miss Liang. Don't you feel afraid when you dream about it in the middle of the night? Someone suddenly questioned loudly. Shisheng narrowed his eyes at the man who had questioned her. This man looked very angry, and his eyes were red. He was probably Liang Qing's fan. What did I do to her? Shisheng was amused. Why did these people act as if they had seen her kill someone? Why did they come here to seek justice? Are you Conan or Baozheng? Since you're so awesome, why don't you call the shots in this world? Why do you need the people's police? The reporters were speechless. Why didn't this girl follow the script when she was angry? This was not in line with their script. Director, let's do it again. She should at least have some evidence to back her up, right? She was just making wild guesses for no reason. If she wasn't retarded, then what was? The group of reporters was stunned by Shisheng's words for a long time. They only regained their senses when Shisheng pushed them aside and entered the police station. However, she had already entered the police station. They couldn't possibly barge in, right? Shisheng walked quickly, and the police officer jogged behind her. He was still a little confused. This Miss Lu was so awesome. He couldn't stand those reporters who jumped to conclusions. They could make a big deal out of a small matter. They were so smug when they exposed other people's privacy to the public. Although there were good reporters in this profession, there were countless reporters who used special methods to attract attention. Every year, there were many people who were forced to their deaths by these scum. Shisheng entered the police station. The person who received her was Zhang Ju. This time, they were not in the interrogation room but in a conference room. Zhang Ju wasn't the only one in the conference room. There were two other people. Shisheng saw a middle-aged man standing there first. Weird uncle. The middle-aged man nodded slightly. Hello, Miss Lu. The corners of Shisheng's mouth twitched. She looked at the man sitting at the conference table. Shisheng was a little tired of looking at people. She felt that everyone looked the same. So she only thought that the man in front of her was quite good-looking. He had sharp eyebrows, bright eyes, a high nose bridge, and rosy lips. However, his skin was very fair, so he didn't look weird. What Shisheng was more concerned about was the oppressive aura around Mu Bai. It wasn't obvious. Ordinary people might not notice it, but Shisheng, who had seen countless people, could tell at a glance. This man seemed to be hiding his true self. What he showed in front of others was just an illusion. Shisheng blinked. A dark light flashed across her eyes. This man was not Feng Xiai, but he was very dangerous. Stay away or kill him. Shisheng quickly made a decision. It was more troublesome to kill him in this world. It was better to stay away. Mu Bai sensed that Shisheng was sizing him up. He raised his head slightly, pursed his lips into a line, and nodded in greeting. Miss Lu, let me introduce you. This is Mr. Mu Bai. It's all thanks to Mr. Mu that this case was solved. Zhang Ju said a lot of nonsense. However, Shisheng also provided the information she needed. The last time she had been released so quickly, it was because of this man. This time, she was called because the murderer had been caught. Asterisk, please vote. Please vote. Chapter 604. Liang Qing's murderer was a serial killer from 5 years ago. He had a high IQ and was extremely perverted. He hadn't been caught 5 years ago, so he wanted to do something big. He spent a long time figuring out Liang Qing's formation, and happened to know that Shisheng and Liang Qing had a dispute. That was how the plot came to be. How did he get my fingerprints? Shisheng asked. Zhang Ju frowned. Before he could answer, Mu Bai interrupted. There was a fire alarm in your villa. He sneaked into the villa among the inspectors and got your fingerprints. Fire alarm? Shisheng had no recollection of this. But this confession was from Han Xiao. Could it have happened when she wasn't around? Although she spent most of her time in the villa, she would go out occasionally. When she went out, Han Xiao would be the only one at home. Han Xiao wouldn't tell her if it wasn't a big deal. These people definitely wouldn't tell Shisheng the details of the case. So Chief Zhang quickly changed the topic. Miss Lu has been wrong these days. We will hold a press conference in a few days. Miss Lu, please bear with it for a few more days. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. I don't want to stay with this pervert. I want to go out and breathe the free air. I'll send Miss Lu off. Mu Bai suddenly stood up. Shisheng. No, I don't want you to send me off. I'm afraid I won't be able to resist killing you. For your own safety, please don't send me off. However, Mu Bai and Shisheng didn't have the telepathy skill. He had already walked to the door and opened it like a gentleman. Shisheng sat back down. I want to rest. Mr. Mu, you can leave first. Mu Bai's mouth twitched slightly. His eyes flickered for a moment, then he nodded to Chief Zhang and left the meeting room. The middle-aged man hurriedly followed Mu Bai out. Before he left, he seemed to have glanced at Shisheng. He was so fast that even Shisheng didn't catch it. Miss Lu, you don't seem to like Mr. Mu? Chief Zhang could tell that Shisheng was doing it on purpose. It couldn't be more obvious. Why should I like a stranger? Shisheng looked at Chief Zhang as if he was retarded. Is he R&B? Should everyone like him? Hey, how could a little girl like you speak like that? He was just asking casually. Why did she have to be so agitated? Moreover, with Mubai's figure, his looks, and his net worth, aren't they exactly what you girls like? Alright, this lunatic was different from what ordinary girls thought. After all, he used to be a CEO. I heard that he has been mentally unstable ever since he went bankrupt. Chief Zhang felt that he was going to have a heart attack. He quickly left the meeting room and dragged a policeman in to wait for this lunatic to leave. When Shisheng left the police station, she was harassed by the reporters again. Compared to before, this group of reporters was even more ferocious. They were just short of stabbing the word murderer on her forehead and dragging her out to be beheaded. This time, Shisheng was not as good-tempered as before. He took out his sword and was about to start a massacre. If it weren't for a group of police officers quickly rushing out of the police station to separate the two sides, the headlines tomorrow would probably be, "The bankrupt CEO had a mental breakdown and went on a killing spree in front of the police station. F***CK, if you dare to show up in front of I again, I'll kill you." Shisheng was blocked by several policemen. She pointed at the group of reporters who had been scared to death and threatened them. A policeman. Her presence was so weak. The reporters. So Lu Xinggu was really sick. If she was sick, why didn't she take her medicine? Why did she let him out? Shisheng was sent back by a private car. The people at the police station said that they never wanted to see this lunatic again. Shisheng, who was targeted by all the reporters, still could not escape the fate of being defamed. In the end, the internet not only said that she was a murderer, but also said that she had gone crazy. This angered Han Xiao half to death. These reporters were simply talking nonsense. How was her CEO Lu crazy? One night, when she saw her CEO fiddling with a camera in the dark, Han Xiao was a little uncertain. Her CEO Lu couldn't have really gone crazy, right? Han Xiao was so anxious that she did not sleep the whole night. As a result, when she woke up the next day, she saw a hot topic. It was a video taken in seconds. The background of the video was very familiar. Han Xiao looked at the background for a long time. When she recognized the background, she was frightened by a face that suddenly appeared and screamed, throwing away her phone. She looked at the phone on the ground in shock. After a long time, she got out of bed, opened the door, and ran to Shisheng's room. "CEO Lu, CEO Lu." Han Xiao knocked on the door and shouted anxiously. "What are you doing? It's so early in the morning. Are you calling a ghost?" Shisheng opened the door. His hair was messy, his face was a little flushed, and his eyebrows were furrowed. He looked extremely impatient. Seeing Shisheng standing in front of her, Han Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. "You scared me to death. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm going to sleep." Shisheng slammed the door shut. Han Xiao was hit in the face by the wind brought by the door. She stood there for a long time before walking back to her room. She picked up her phone and clicked on the video. She was not prepared before, and was frightened by the sudden appearance of a bloody face. Looking at it now, she was not as scared as before. She did not see the end of the video. After the face, there was a sentence. "Come on, if you don't accept it, destroy me on behalf of the moon." Idiots. Han Xiao. She wondered if her CEO had really gone crazy. How could he be so childish? The instant video had a big reaction on the internet. Those who thought that they were normal thought that Shisheng was crazy and should be sent to psychiatric treatment. Those who were extreme in their words even directly told her to die. As for those who thought they were abnormal, they actually started to defend Shisheng. This matter continued until the police held a press conference to announce the cause of Liang Qing's death and the murderer. The people who had helped Shisheng to clean up the mess immediately became self-righteous. Were they slapped in the face? Did they bully the CEO of Wuli? How could the CEO of Wuli be a murderer? Those netizens who had been clamoring fiercely did not dare to make a sound at this time. They felt that it was all a joke. Because of the sufficient evidence, the case was quickly closed. This matter was considered to have come to an end. Shisheng entered the mode of waiting to die and receiving deliveries again. Deliveries? Oh! There were always strange people who sent her things. At first, they were normal people, then they became the property management of Banyan residents and the security guards. Later on, they were crazy people who were passing by, Little girls who had just finished school, delivery boys. And now they had all become deliveries. Shisheng had always been resistant to things of unknown origin. Who knew if there was a bomb inside? It was better to be safe than sorry. Caution is the parent of safety. If she was not cautious, she would have capsized a few hundred years ago and been turned into ashes. This is obviously an urban harem novel. What the hell am I writing? What's going on with my Sheng? I can't stop writing at all. I feel like I'm going to gain brainless fans times n cough cough. Writing a proper harem novel. I'm writing a proper harem novel. Yifeng hee hee, where's my play? Chapter 605. The next time they saw Yifeng was half a month later. Shisheng took Han Xiao to a hot pot restaurant on a whim. As soon as they entered the restaurant, they saw Yifeng and Xiao Linglong sitting together in an ambiguous position. The two of them were eating hot pot like a high-end Western restaurant. As another suspect in Liang Qing's case, Yifeng used some unspoken rules to keep the news from spreading. Of course, Shisheng thought it was because he was too awesome and attracted the attention of thousands of netizens. That was why Yifeng was not noticed. Liang Qing just died not long ago and he's already in the mood to cuddle with other women. Han Xiao, who was very hostile to Yifeng, said with disgust, "Chairman Liu, you were right to not want this gigolo. There's a saying in this world that if you don't have intimate contact with women, you will die." Shisheng answered Han Xiao seriously. Han Xiao. Chairman Liu was talking nonsense again. Shisheng found a corner and sat down. "May I ask if the two ladies would like to have a mild or extra spicy hot pot?" The waiter asked dutifully. Shisheng rolled up his sleeves proudly. "Hot pot, of course, extra spicy hot pot. I haven't eaten hot pot for a long time, and I miss the taste." Shisheng could eat spicy hot pot, but Han Xiao couldn't. She couldn't take a bite. Seeing Shisheng eating so happily, she was too embarrassed to say anything. She could only endure it and eat a few bites carefully. Her forehead was full of cold sweat because of the spiciness. "I'm going to the toilet, don't eat my meat." Shisheng suddenly stood up. Han Xiao nodded slightly. Chairman Liu could eat such a spicy hot pot without any change in expression. She was impressed. After Shisheng left, Han Xiao naturally stopped eating. She was going to wait for her chairman to come back and pretend to eat some more. However, Shisheng didn't come back. The waiter came first with a small hot pot stove. The soup inside was clear soup. The waiter directly put it next to Han Xiao and left with a smile. Han Xiao. Oh no, I feel like I've been flirted with by my chairman. Chairman Liu is so considerate. Shisheng came out of the bathroom. The floor was a little slippery, probably because it had just been cleaned. He didn't step on the Shisheng firmly and suddenly slipped forward. Just as they were about to bump into each other, Shisheng suddenly propped himself up against the wall beside him, did a dashing side somersault, and landed on the clean ground beside him. Oh. Mu Bai, who was just about to reach out to receive her, was speechless. What happened to saving the damsel in distress? This girl didn't follow the script again. He retracted his hand and nodded slightly. Miss Liu, what a coincidence. Although the person opposite him didn't even look at him, he was a gentleman and couldn't lose his self-restraint. Shisheng patted his chest. He was scared to death. Suddenly he heard a familiar voice. Shisheng raised his head and saw Mu Bai's face clearly. Then he turned around and left at lightning speed. F***ck, I've seen a pervert. Mu Bai, did he look that scary? He looked at the Shisheng's back thoughtfully. After a while, he withdrew his gaze and looked at the ground. A few seconds later, he entered the men's room. Shisheng returned to his seat and saw that Han Xiao had already started eating. He sat down and continued to eat. President Liu, thank you. Han Xiao's face was still red from the spicy food. Now that she said that, she looked a little shy and timid. Next time, you can tell me directly if you don't like it. I'm not an old pervert who will force you to eat the same food as me. Shisheng said vaguely as he stuffed a piece of meat into his mouth. Cough cough. Han Xiao choked. President Liu, if you continue to be like this, I'm going to turn gay. After eating hot pot, Shisheng asked the waiter to pay the bill. However, The waiter told him that the bill had already been paid. Shisheng. Not only did a pervert send I food out of nowhere, but he also paid the bill for her. This is going to cause trouble. Which one should I kill first? Brother Feng, my daddy asked you to come to my house. Can you come back with me? Xiao Linglong's sticky voice sounded. If she hadn't been so against Shisheng before, Shisheng would actually like Xiao Linglong. She was pure, cute, had a sweet voice, long legs, and knew how to act coquettishly. This was the kind of girl he liked. Unfortunately, this girl didn't like him. This was a bit awkward. I have something to do today. I'll go over tomorrow. You can go back first. Xiao Linglong was disappointed, but didn't insist. Okay then, I'll call Brother Feng tomorrow. Shisheng was standing at the counter. In most places, the counter was near the door. Therefore, when Yi Feng and Xiao Linglong came out, they bumped into Shisheng. The funny thing was, before Yi Feng could argue with Shisheng, a group of people suddenly rushed in from the door. They blocked Yi Feng and Xiao Linglong and started to mock them. Isn't this our Yi Feng, young Master Yi? Which family did you bring this little girl out to have fun? Aren't you very rich? Why did you bring this little girl to this kind of place? The leader was a young man who was about the same age as Yi Feng. Yi Feng bought the lucky bracelet last time. Now he was so poor that he had to eat dirt. He also owed the system a lot of points. This little girl is so cute. Last time, who was it? Liang Qing, the female celebrity who died. The underling beside him reminded. Yes, it's that woman. TSK, that figure, that beauty, what a pity. Yi Feng, your luck with women is not bad. All of a sudden, Yi Feng seemed to have touched a nerve. He threw a punch at the young man. The young man was caught off guard, and was forced to take a few steps back. The young man covered his cheek that was hit, and spat out a mouthful of saliva. Beat him. Shisheng and Han Xiao were standing very close to each other. If a group of people suddenly started fighting, it would be easy for them to get hurt. Shisheng hurriedly moved Han Xiao outside. After walking out of the restaurant, Shisheng calmly took out his phone and dialed Yao Yaoling. If you have any problems, look for the police. The police will protect you, and you will have no worries for the rest of your life. Because of the Shisheng's nonsense that someone had killed someone in public, people came quickly. A young policeman who had been tortured by the Shisheng happened to be there. When he saw the psychopath standing outside, his legs went weak. Oh my God, this psychopath didn't get treated in the hospital, but came here to cause trouble. You guys got here pretty quickly, ah. Shisheng casually walked up to the police officer as the informant of the case. The young policeman swallowed hard and wanted to cry. You called the police and said someone had killed someone. How could we not come quickly? If you're sick, take medicine. Don't come and harm us. You'll be arrested if you make a false police report. Even if you're sick, you'll be locked up for electrotherapy. The restaurant was already under control. Suddenly, screams came from the crowd. Shisheng and the young policeman looked at the restaurant at the same time. Xiao Linglong was dead. She died in the bathroom of the hot pot restaurant. Originally, fighting was not a big deal. The people eating in the restaurant didn't care. When someone went to the bathroom, he found Xiao Linglong lying on the ground. That was why he screamed and caused panic in the restaurant. The young policeman looked at Shisheng with burning eyes. Shisheng, what are you looking at? It wasn't I who did it. #hashtag today. I want cantaloupe votes. #hashtag last day. I want monthly votes. # that you're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.